Ring, 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 ring. Hey.
Hey, so working?
Yeah, everything's great. Yo, what's up, fam?
All right, awesome. Hello, everybody.
Anime,
Hello,
I don't really
Trihex.
fuck with
Thank you
that.
for having
But
me.
Oh
hentai,
no, dude, the pleasure is absolutely all mine. Let me just I'm just gonna real quick here. Talk to them while I get the Discord captured because it's always a giant pain in the ass to do that because Discord's stupid like that.
All right, sure. All right, so for everybody joining for this interview, me and Trihex has a couple of things prepared already. We're going to go into multiple subjects. I'm sure Trihex will go over multiple of them. But yeah, we're going to go into obviously a lot of Wind Waker stuff, Wind Waker HD today. We have a lot of stuff planned when it comes to that. Also, kind of just speed running as well as streaming talk in general, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are interested in. I'm sure a lot of you guys try streaming on the side as a viewer. We're going to go into a lot of that stuff, where you find the motivations, burnouts, how you deal with that sort of stuff. And, what kind of makes you, push for growing and, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. You nailed it right on the head. So all right, so I got you in here. It's got to squeeze you in this little box right here, and yeah, we can rock and roll with it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, so I'm gonna go ahead and today, y'all, Linkus decided he fed me here his a Wind Waker any percent run alongside 100% run if we run over on time, which I think we will because this is gonna be a juicy episode. So I'm very very excited. So I'm totally down for running over here. But yeah, first thing I want to ask you though a little bit of context here. I noticed you fed me a Twitch mirror of your 80% run. So does this mean that this is just like hot off the presses? Did this happen before even uploaded to YouTube yet? Or
I have not uploaded to YouTube. That is more a mistake on my part, to be completely honest. We can go into that later actually, but basically what ended up happening was a brand new route ended up being discovered right after I got my first sub 1 hour run, which is obviously a huge milestone, going over an hour mark. And because of that, I was hot on the grind, grinding 12 hours a day, and didn't really get around to uploading on YouTube because there was so much stuff going on, and I was hoping to prove it even further, but then more stuff got discovered for 100%. So that shifted my focus. So it's just been so much stuff going on in Wind Waker that in recent times, which I love to go into, that kind of just shifted my focus a bit.
no, yeah, I would love to. I'm actually super excited here. Particularly different this time is this is the first time I've done inside the speedrunner for a game I'm not comprehensively savvy in. So I've watched Wind Waker, but I've actually not played. So I get to ask you all kinds of like really really derpy questions because there are things I just don't know. I'm like, yeah, I can tell, like, for example, that zombie hover is APM intensive, but is there more to it, and what does that mean, and did it change the run, and do you hate it, do you love it? So there's situations here where, like, there are some tech now in Wind Waker where you had like a wish list of so many things that y'all wanted once upon a time back in like 2011, 2012, and now you got like so many things. I'm wondering, well, did it go too far now? You find that there's like too little of the vanilla gameplay still even contained in any percent now? That's a topic I want to get into later on. That's some galaxy brain discussions I want to have with you a little bit there.
Definitely, the focus has changed so much. I mean, it's like I'm gonna be completely honest. With when Wind Waker HD came out, I was running the original game at the time, right?
Hmm.
And I was like any other runner. I saw Wind Waker HD, and I was like, this gymnast guy, he's crazy. Why is he running this version? This version is just rolling everywhere, sailing everywhere, luck. This version sucks to speedrun, right? So I absolutely wrote it off like any other person, and it went from this just crazy thing of taking 5 hours to like the god time of sub four, and now to under an hour. So much has happened, and definitely where you're talking about right there, to shift. There's a reasoning why I switched over to speedrunning 100%, mainly because when your speedrun goes from 4 hours, you're playing so much of the game to you're not even beating a single dungeon in your speedrun, and it's a Zelda game. It almost becomes crazy at one point, right? You're almost like missing out on so much gameplay that you're looking for other categories to find enjoyment in.
Exactly that, and this actually reminds me of an example I am fluent with, which was Paper Mario. I remember for a long time Paper Mario
Mm,
64 before Blue House Skip. You did every
yeah.
chapter, and then Blue House Skip happened, and then suddenly you're skipping half the game. So the one thing I don't want to name call like in a negative way. I think it's actually just human nature here, but because I would probably do the same thing honestly. But Then I saw at the time, I Your Pie was very active in Paper Mario, and he immediately was like, "Yo, well, any percent's crap now. Now I want to get into what they called, I believe it was
All cards, I
all
think.
cards,
Right.
yeah. To have an excuse to still play, most of the game rather than just be this obnoxious skip that comes, an hour into the run that skips half the game.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
I would say for a long time because I was around at the time. I would even say with I At Your Pie, for example, in that case, like that even in the long while actually became a bad thing for the game because he lost motivation because a lot of people have this kind of stigma of is it any percent, you run any percent, that's it, that's always what you should run. And I almost think that in a way it can almost hurt a speedrun sometimes.
Oh, you're talking about those category purists where they say every game should be 80%, 100%, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's never quite that simple. I recall people back in like the early days of like speedrun streaming, like 2012 era, like pre I don't know, I want to call it like pre 2014 because 2014 is whenever like I feel like the SRL leaderboard officially didn't happen and things kind of just like flattened out and communities started to form from there. But before
Yeah.
that, when it was like we were all under the SRL house, I guess is how I want to put it here. Yeah, you had. I remember quite a few category peers. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I feel like if you try to enforce that, there's too many circumstances that just make that not universally applicable in a
Yeah.
grand scheme, and you're just gonna ultimately just hinder your growth of any given games community that would not fit into this very frigid thing you're trying to define. When
Oh yeah.
speedrunning is already arbitrary, so yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, like already, like I'm sure it's less of a problem now. But since you were around as well in 2013, 2012, that's kind of when I started to watch speedruns. I remember it was even a mess because at least when all the communities I was part of, it was Google Docs for the leaderboards. So you had to like go to each individual streamer to get each individual episode. So I would say speedrun.com has actually helped more like categories become more accessible to people because it's well set up filters, instead of a specific docs or website for any game, every single game and category. I know there's some examples that's different, like GoldenEye or like Mega Man, I think was also like had a proper website, but for the most part, it was like pretty bad to actually find categories and games for leaderboards.
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, we've already gone on an extreme tangent. We haven't even let's rewind it back here because we're still under introductions right now. So Linkus, is it best to describe you as a Wind Waker speedrunner particularly, or is it more like is there like a quantity of Zeldas that you enjoy altogether, or how would you define yourself if you introduce yourself as like relevant to speedrunning?
I would say that I am mainly a Wind Waker speedrunner, and obviously, since I played it the most, it's the game I'm the most competitive in. However, I've always wanted to branch out because for me, a big part about streaming is having fun, and I think even though like viewer wise, it's probably short term the best decision to stick with one thing. I've always just kind of like wanted to focus on what's fun. So I kind of wanted to branch myself out and kind of break this box because I think the Mario and Zelda community are always very divided. I remember like how it's always been different. So I come from a Mario background and switched to Zelda. So
Oh,
I basically know how to speedrun every single 3D Zelda game other than Skyward Sword because I'm not a huge fan of that game.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I know to speedrun every single 3D Zelda game, and I also know like a bunch of Mario speedruns. Like I know Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Galaxy, basic knowledge of Odyssey. So I've been like Luigi's Mansion. I used to be a record computer in. So because of that, I usually like to mainly call myself a Zelda speedrunner. But and obviously like 80-70% of my content is Wind Waker, but I like to branch out and play, just more than one game. So I usually play, I would say, 2 or 3 speedruns at a time, actually.
Wow, yeah, did not know that actually. That's actually really really cool. Yeah, where else I gonna go with this now? Okay, so you said that you started with Mario and then you eventually got into 3D Zelda. Is that correct?
Yes. So I saw some speedruns in 2012 of Siglamek when like it was almost like viral, like some YouTube videos of like check this guy out, he's crazy. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's cool, and kind of forgot about speedrunning. I was more into Call of Duty and like making montages and like all of that, trick shots, with Face Clan and all of those stuff back then. Modern Warfare 2. And then I found Fire Dragon 764 Fi. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it amazing how it could beat Luigi's Mansion in an hour. So I started off speedrunning Luigi's Mansion because he completely inspired me to start streaming. Unfortunately, like, I just played one game. It was, getting a bit burnt out after a year or two, and I started seeing in the end of like Narcissa's speedrunning days, and as well as I found Demon, and they were playing Wind Waker, which was my favorite Zelda game. So then I basically, when I want to take speedrunning and especially streaming seriously, that's when I picked up Zelda. Beforehand, I was actually purely Mario, like Super Mario Sunshine, like, and Luigi's Mansion.
If I can ask here, do you feel that you did that subconsciously or you did that deliberately? Like you deliberately stated Mario because of like I don't know, maybe like stream metrics or view count reasons, or do you find that you just like no, I like Mario, so I'm gonna keep doing Mario kind of thing?
I guess it was more like I tried a glitch here and there, and I found them to be too difficult. So I thought that because Zelda, like Mario's movement and Zelda's glitches. That's how I've always seen the two big differences and the two like communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more movement than speedrunning, and we'll get to that later as well with Wind Waker HD. But that's why I've been playing that so much because with item sliding, which I'm sure we'll get into more details, like I said later, it added a movement aspect to it, right?
Yeah.
So having a glitch, like Ocarina of Time, I'm sure you guys have seen it with CFG, with Hessing, with, bombs, like he's a god at that, right? It adds a movement perspective to the glitches, which is what actually caught my eye with Wind Waker.
No, I love it actually, and you're completely correct. Yeah, movement's a very vital part of if it's a game I'm going to stick with long term or not. But real quick before we move on here, you brought up a really important point I wanted to drill in on there, which was that you said you may have overstayed a little bit on Zelda, and I find now that you're right because when you say you're most known for Wind Waker, but you also do other things. I think it's always a great idea. This is something I didn't learn until like last year, or I didn't realize like you should honestly take your viewers that you have, because they're probably all like Wind Waker directory fans, and it is your task in your interest as a streamer, Linkus, to convert them from directory fans to Linkus fans. Like what separates you from the other Wind Waker speedrunners aside from just like your skill, and that's the way to like two things: one, achieve like a long-term community growth, but also achieve mental health on a positive note, because again we're gonna get this a little later on here as well here. We both keep pinning things for later discussion, but yeah, I know we have some particular things to get into about concerning burnout, which I'm actually really excited to go into, because I feel like a very common question from someone who's new to speedrunning is, at face value, it seems so inherently repetitive, and which debatably they would perceive as boring, and it's like, well, yeah, how do you not get burned out? You're doing the same game every day all the time, and it's like, it's really eye-opening to talk about that particular thing and realign the perspective into how speedrunners perceive that versus how someone new will just say it's repetition, therefore it's automatically boring, therefore you're on the fast track to burnout. So
Yeah.
So with that now though, let's so you would say you're mostly you're known for Wind Waker, but now I gotta ask you the $1,000,000 question, which is why Wind Waker, or tell us about that path, because sometimes people deliberately say oh, Wind Waker is the scene is popping right now and the community draws me in to get on Wind Waker, because I remember that was like a thing in 2012, particularly with Narcissa, that drove Wind Waker to get up there. Others will be like, oh, I play it and I don't know, the movement or the game, the speed run flow draws me in better than the other game or whatever it may be. So you tell me here, what were you playing before, and when did you know? How'd you get into Wind Waker, and then when did you know it was going to be a mainstay for you that like pushed you even further beyond?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, like I basically, like I said, I was actually gonna play through a playthrough of this is like end of 2014, and I was gonna go to DreamHack, and Narcissa was gonna be there, which is her last speedrunning event she would attend, and prior to that, it got me a lot of inspiration to kind of try some of these glitches for Wind Waker. And I noticed that I had kind of I guess like a feeling, I don't know if that makes sense, but like a feeling for timing, right? Because I'd never tried glitches before, but I noticed that I was improving very, very quickly. So within and Wind Waker was really optimized at this point. So about after a month of running Wind Waker, I was already like top 5. I was within 10 minutes of record, which for being a 4.5 hour long run is at least in my point, that kind of motivated me, because I was like, wow, okay, like this isn't as like impossible as I thought, like I can't actually perform these glitches. And also at the time, my stream started growing, so because at the time, I was having 5 or 10 viewers, seeing that first initial growth motivates you to keep going even more. I'm sure you know the same with like Yoshi or whatever game you were growing with.
Oh yeah.
Um, so like all of that combined, loving streaming and everything, and it was just at this perfect time too. And it was like summer break. I was just going at it, just crazy Wind Waker, and I was just playing it every single day. And then basically, what ended up happening was I made my first mistake, and that was that I realized that more importantly than speedrunning was the mental game. And basically, what happened was I was very negative, and I was this, ragey streamer at the time. I would rage quit. I would reset 20 minutes in because I lost 10 seconds. Even though, I could save 5, 10 minutes later. And that made me play only early game. I got even more mad, and I would just go salty. I just turn on my stream in the middle of the run because I got mad, and it was just building this up, right? And if anyone has like watched me in recent times, that sounds crazy, right? But I was so mad, so I literally quit streaming. I like for like a few months, I quit speedrunning because I was just so mad. I couldn't play for more than half an hour without getting mad at this game. And what I actually ended up doing was I literally just worked on playing other games offline and getting better at controlling my mood and focusing on positive things. So then when I finally came back to speedrunning seriously with Wind Waker HD back in 2016, I ended up adding stuff like best possible time, and I'd focus on that. So instead of the time loss, I'd focus on, can I still PB? Yes. All right, don't worry about the time loss. You can get that back. And I was working a lot on literally as my mental game over that about year of taking a break. And that's what really got me into it, because when I fixed my mental game, it allowed me to actually speedrun a game for longer than 2 or 3 months without immediately getting upset, mad, and rage quitting the game entirely.
So let me ask this, okay? So one thing that me and you definitely differ on is you actually committed to taking this break. I always was too scared to ever take a long-term break from streaming, especially when I was definitely feeling burnout with Yoshi's Island, because I felt like I would lose all my momentum, as far as like the, I don't know, stream metrics go, or just like in general, like, sub count or whatever. Even back in 2013, because it was a whole different game at the time. Do you find that break really helped, or do you feel like it was just what you thought was an idea worth trying, and you didn't necessarily have to take a break in order to achieve what you did there?
Well, at the time back then, I was averaging maybe like 70, 80 viewers. It wasn't full time by any means. But obviously, like, yes, like going from 5, 10 viewers to, 70, 80, that was that was huge for me, right? And I would say I took the break working on my mental game. And I didn't know what I should pick up speedrunning. What actually made me comfortable enough to kind of decide that I will take this break and I won't be afraid to come back, and how I felt comfortable that I could maybe regain some of my viewers, was item sliding got discovered for Wind Waker HD. And I was like, wow, okay. Games Done Quick has been a dream of mine to be in a run forever. I've gone to 2 events for fun. This is probably going to get in. Wind Waker hasn't been in now for 2, 3 years. Item sliding changed the speedrun so much. I'm going to make a challenge where I'm going to stream 12 hours every single day. I'm going to regain my viewers. And by playing that every day for 2 months, I can hopefully within that time get a good enough time to submit it to GDQ. And that can hopefully, with streaming so much, plus getting a GDQ run in, hopefully, make my old viewers watching me a year or two ago kind of notice, oh, wow, he's back.
Dang.
So that was kind of my plan.
You know what's crazy about that? So the whole idea of doing a 12-hour over X duration thing, I learned that from Singlimic. I saw whenever he did the whole, like, I'm doing 12 hours every day for a month straight in order to get the run. I forgot what his time was. I think his goal was, like, getting a 157 or something like that, or for 120 star.
Wasn't it 143?
Ooh, I might be way off here. Okay, maybe. I'm making up numbers now, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever was like godlike in 2012 is what the time was going for. And
yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, you can do that. It didn't even occur to me. Oh, you can do it. You can just like say I'm gonna do 12 hours, and people will know to like tune in and be there any given time during daylight. You're gonna be live, grinding for the run, and that's when to earn the earn became a thing. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I thought I was motivated, man. 12 hours a day, I gotta get like this, dude. So that I saw that, and that got me pretty excited. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that all came back and that all worked out for you. That's actually fantastic. And then again, don't worry, we're gonna come back because there's so many things I want to get into because you brought up you brought up a thing here I thought was really interesting, which was that when item sliding when new tech item sliding came out, that like remotivated you or reinvigorated you to like, okay, there's a new tool now. There's like it's like I discovered a new color on my artist palette that I can paint with now. Now I'm excited again. Like, you know, the discovery fed back into the routing, fed back into the grind for execution. And I love bringing back to this whole, like, this 3 phases I find for speedrunning, where it's like, you know, mechanics and discovery feed into routing, feed into grinding for execution. And oftentimes, like, whenever you find a new thing, you're right back on phase 1 again, going into phase 2, going into phase 3. And, man, you have the game, yo. Wind Waker has found so many things. You've constantly gone back. You're still going back to phase 1 with the discovery into routing combo. And it's like, there are some games that have been stagnant, you know, for, you know, half a decade now, just like where you're stuck on the grind. There's like very little new. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like particularly Mario 64 is kind of at that point now, where it's like there's very, very little new, and it's just like grind, and there's just like so much there's like very little you can do at this point now in 2019 that's like goes from being task only to like a real time setup for a task only strat. So it's really awesome that you're in that state, because I find it's really easy to stay excited and motivated when you have like new things constantly going on here with a thriving community that's probably full of very proactive glitch hunters and I don't know, stuff like that.
That's why I think that Ocarina of Time is like one of the most popular speedruns overall, because it's such a popular game. I don't know how, because I thought the game was broken back in 2013 when they figured out the 20-minute run, but it keeps having new routes, new glitches so often. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why, like, CFG, for example, could have been playing this game now for like literally a dozen years, right? Because it's just so refreshing to keep getting new routes and glitches and tricks, and it's not, you know, there's never a year of the same thing. It's always new, always new.
Indeed. All right, well, you told me about what got you into Wind Waker. If I can, actually, I probably should ask these questions backwards, honestly, but I wanted to, if you feel we already covered it, feel free to, like, derail it to the next thing here, but, what got you into speedrunning? Like, was there like a, you kind of brought up earlier, you brought up, like, Singlimic and Narcissa a little bit there, but is that, like, because I love knowing what defines that journey, you know, what got you into speedrunning may not be the same thing that keeps you motivated to speedrun. So is there a great way to summarize what got you into it?
What got me into it single-handedly would be Fire Dragon or Fi-Fi. Just watching that Luigi's Expansion speedruns really motivated me, but also I think I wouldn't say that speedrunning specifically would have only gotten me into it, because I'd seen it before and I kind of left it. I think it was the streaming aspect mixed with speedrunning. It was like, when you know this game so well, like Luigi's Mansion, there's a lot of movement. You can make it so muscle memory. You can like talk so much to Shad, right? And it's almost like you're building a community and you're talking to almost like this family as you're speedrunning, right? And I would say that was the biggest motivator for me, and that's also how I deal with my stream right now. I talk all the time. I love answering questions. That's why the GDQ runs, I usually don't go around and ask people if I can have people on the couch, because I'm so used to talking constantly that I don't really feel like I play worse if I'm talking at the same time as I'm playing my game. So I focus a lot in just communicating and talking as I'm speedrunning. So I'd say that's what really got me into it, was the streaming aspect with speedrunning.
And I like that you touched on GDQ there. Given that you have performed at GDQ, I definitely want to get into the mindset of a GDQ performer, because notice I said performer here. I feel like it's two very different things. Going for world record run and putting on a good GDQ run, to me, are kind of two different things. They can happen at the same time coincidentally, but for the most part, I find one's performing and explaining. The other one, you're going for pure optimal, and you can honestly just neglect Twitch chat if you're on world record pace and still, you know, get the objective done. The other one, a GDQ performance, don't really want to do that. So, but I'd love to hear your insight on what you did to prepare for that, and what it was like to nail it, and what you've learned after your first GDQ performance, and what you may apply into your future ones, and stuff like that. But again, we're gonna like everything else, we're gonna attack that one, because we're gonna get to it. So from here, I kind of if you have anything else you want to get into before I get into specific Wind Waker stuff, feel free to bring it on the table now if you'd like. But otherwise, we can
No,
finally.
that's fine. We're getting so developed, so we can go into the next point and like come back to the GDQ and stuff later. That's completely fine by me.
All right, so finally now, how far are we? 22 minutes into this run, we're finally talking about something involving Wind Waker here. So first thing I want to get into is the elephant in the room. Tell me about because again I'm not super savvy, or maybe I was back in the gap. I'm a little bit less so now. Wind Waker SD or standard definition for GameCube versus Wind Waker HD. Like, what are the differences here, and why do you prefer HD over SD?
Sure. I mean, like, first off, because it's a great time. If you're just paying attention to the stream right now, you can see, like, I'm moving around my grappling hook, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of easier to just start off with that because it's an easy example. So you see I use my grappling hook all the time. I'm sliding around, I'm jumping around. So what that is that's item sliding. So first off, just going back shortly, when Wind Waker HD came out, we found out they patched out basically every major glitch, right? So Wind Waker HD was the people that want to play the game close to glitchless, follow the intended route, sail everywhere. The original Wind Waker on the GameCube was more or less, you're doing this thing with the Wind Waker, you're getting storage, you're skipping cutscenes, you're turning around the camera so you can super swim in the water. So there's a bunch of stuff like that all around. And then, like, at the current state, when I picked it up, right, so we found this item sliding glitch. So basically, like, it's this broken mechanic, and I think it kind of touches on what you said, where new stuff are being discovered all the time. It's not one of these, oh wow, we found a skip. It's a glitch that can be applied anywhere in the game. And why that's so impactful is because if you find a major glitch that can be applied to anywhere in the game, that allows you to use that glitch to perform more skips, right? So we found item sliding, and, like, very easily explained, right? Basically, it allows you to build up an infinite amount of speed until your game crashes because you hit the 32-bit integer limit.
Actually, did not know there was a built-in threshold that could cause the game to crash. I just thought that it was just optimal to do. So okay, it's a small thing I want to ask about there because now it's so interesting here. So you're telling me that hypothetically here you could super swim, or you could, like, achieve so much built-in speed and momentum that you could crash the game. Is there certain points where you would hypothetically want to super swim to that point, but you don't because the game would crash? Like, you just have to settle for going to, like, a closer island than you would want to go otherwise, from what you're saying, or not really?
There are certain instances like that, actually, but not even close, because the problem is, so the glitch basically multiplies your speed by 1.2 times each frame, right? Which means that if when you're starting off, you're slowly gaining speed, but in the end, you're making such a big difference. I think we did the math one time, and it was literally, if you had the max amount of speed and the ocean would theoretically loop, which it doesn't, but if it did loop, you could in one frame cross the ocean almost 1,000 times. Because of how, if you had the maximum amount of speed, it looped and it didn't crash. So obviously that's way too much speed. So usually I would say this, actually, we only in a speed run, because the Wii U loads islands incredibly quick. It's very rare to, like, fall into unloaded waters, because water can actually takes 2 frames to load for each coordinate. You only probably get, I think we did the math, it's like 0.1% something of the theoretical possible speed that you actually use for a super swim, because it's just so much that it's not even usable.
Oh my god, that's crazy. Okay, all right. So you broke down a little bit there for me between the GameCube and the Wii U one, and I also recall here. Take me back, because I want to slow it down a little bit further, because I recall you brought up here how a lot of the glitches that were infamous in the GameCube version were patched out in the HD port or the HD re-release. But let's bring it back, though, because there's an important segment of time that we're neglecting to mention here, which was the fact that the Best Buy Wind Waker HD demo, right? I don't know if you were able to, like, go to a Best Buy and play the demo, but I recall that the game was in a more, like, GameCube-esque vanilla state, but people were trying out all the infamous glitches on the public kiosk demo station, crashing the thing, and people were, and the Nintendo America staff were taking note of these crashes, and that's what led to some of these glitches getting patched out. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. The original kiosks demos had the main glitch storage, but because the demo only had 3 locations in the game, What people did is they got the glitch, they super simmed out of the island, and because it wasn't existing in the demo, it crashed. So Nintendo took note on the fact that, oh wow, the game is crashing with this glitch, right? And also the zombie hovering. You can't still zombie hover in this version, but with the method we used previously, which is just zombie hover into loading zones, because that area you were zombie hovering into when people were trying that out didn't exist in the demo, it was crashing. So both of those things, which unfortunately are two of the major things for the speedrun, were both patched. The rest were pretty much untouched, but since those were the two biggest things, we lost the biggest advantage we had in speedrunning.
So let me ask this, okay? So let's say hypothetically, idiots didn't try to do like speedrun glitches on the demo directly in front of Nintendo America employees, and those things remained in there. How would that have been a great, knowing what you know now in hindsight in 2019? Would that have been a better thing, you think, for the Wind Waker HD speedruns, or do you find that? Because honestly, I thought it was going to be devastating whenever those two things got patched out, right? But it sounds like you're not really hung up over it. You didn't even bring it up. That's why I was surprised. You didn't even bring up this entire Best Buy demo saga. So evidently, it's not too problematic for you, is it?
The way I see it is this: if the old glitches were still in the game, I don't think people would have gone so far and beyond looking for new glitches in the game, in the version. And of all the glitches we know on the HD version, if you look at the popularity, both viewers and runner base wise, the SD community is basically dead, and the HD community is looming. Because what ended up happening was the HD version became a better speedrun. It has more stuff to offer. It's shorter, and also because of like the glitches, with item sliding, they ended up coming into reality. You have a 1 hour run, you have a 2 hour run, you have a 3 hour run, you have a 4 hour run, you have a 6 hour run if you want it to 100%. So it has a great length. Well, the original version, you're going for, 4 hours or 7 hours. And that's about it.
Yeah, pretty thick, pretty chunky. Yeah, and and I think it's important to bring up that context too about any given run duration or length, because a 4-hour run, when you know what you're doing, that's still, that requires a lot of pre-planning. You got to have your bathroom breaks already lined up. You got to have like snacks and food on standby to do the run. If you got a job and stuff, you're trying to squeeze in a run before you go to work that day. That's like, I'm not really a fan of that. I'd rather like get my work done that day and then have all my leisure time after my job. So you're kind of like, given how I operate, that would make me automatically a degenerate nocturnal owl, because I would go to work and then like game all night long or whatever, just because the run is so inflexible. It's not like it's Mega Man X where I can just squeeze in a little 30-minute race. It's a 4-hour run when I know what I'm doing. If I'm new, like what's the starter goal for Wind Waker SD on GameCube? Like 5.5 hours probably, maybe.
Yeah, most people I see is around 5 to 6 hours. Honestly,
that's to me that's crazy. I haven't done a run that long before. That is so much sitting down. Like my butt hurts sitting down that long. Honestly, like you have to like squeeze in like. Hopefully, I get a cutscene where I get like a little stretch break to like get up and like move or whatever.
Yeah, you only had 2 bathroom breaks too during the entire run.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I literally bought an extension cable, 2 of them, so I could go to the bathroom while pressing A and B on my controller. Actually, fun fact.
Oh, that's so good, dude. That's the tech, man. You gotta survive somehow. Dude, honestly, like I finally learned clawing by having to speedrun. Honestly, I knew of clawing for Smash Bros. Melee, but I didn't actually bother to learn to claw until I had to claw whenever I was motivated to like execute things better, whether it be in Yoshi's Island or to some extent Dark Souls, even though you don't really need it for Dark Souls, but I felt like I had to in order to maneuver the camera and everything else. But all right, so you described a little bit more for me here, and I really appreciate that. Let's get into I have another like noob question concerning that whole thing though. So I recall that something exclusive to the GameCube port of Wind Waker is the fact that you have the Tinkle Tuner, right? Tinkle Tuner via the Game Boy Advance link cable and whatnot. But that doesn't exist in Wind Waker HD. So what did that provide, and is that whole thing not missed and replaced by something different entirely in Wind Waker HD now?
Oh, that's definitely missed. Yeah, exactly. So there's a glitch where, to very much simplify, if you basically get 0 health, when you're about to stand up, you have a few frames to perform an input. So you can do a jump slash. And what the game tries to do to kind of, I guess, like basically kill Link off so he gets the game over screen is it will infinitely cancel your input. But that means that if you're starting to like mash like the B button, like you start like mashing like really, really fast in your controller, because every time you press the B button and do a jump slash, you will gain height. You could gain more and more height to continue just to go to areas you're not supposed to reach. And unfortunately, since you're dead, it means that the first frame you touch the ground anywhere, you're just gonna game over. And
Right.
that's why it was so good when it came to the Tingle Tuner, because it had a shop where you could buy a potion in midair and survive the entire thing. So that
Oh.
basically meant that entire glitch was close to obsolete. There is one use of it in the 90% run, which you will see right in the end on the VOD you're watching on stream. Um, which became very notorious after more sequence breaking was found, obviously. But yeah, so that was very dramatic actually. And the unfortunate thing too was the thing they replaced it with was the Tingle bottle, which literally only allows you to get letters from Miiverse, which is also closed down now. So it has no purpose in the game whatsoever.
Mm. And so whenever okay, so I understand that. So Zombie Hover on the GameCube version requires Tinkle Tuner in order to like heal midair when you're about to game over. I understand
Yeah.
that. So then my question then is like, well then how does Zombie Hovering work by comparison in Wind Waker HD?
It only works in circumstances where you can get healed without touching the ground, which means you need to either land on a heart or get touched by a fairy.
Okay, so you have to literally like use the environment and somehow get like free flowing hearts or a fairy
Yeah. The
to
problem
be
is you
in
can't,
your to be in your trajectory whenever you're zombie hovering to somewhere.
yeah. Another good
Woo.
point is because you said trajectory, you can only go forward. That's the second you die, you are on a straight line. And obviously,
Okay.
you can't also move hearts, and hearts disappear after 10 seconds, so you can't easily just like set a heart up, go away, start the glitch. And with fairies, which were a problem actually, because that was one of the tricks we had to do, fairies move in a random direction, completely luck
Mm.
based.
I re-
And
this is okay. I cannot wait to talk about that part because that to me mind you, I'm not even Wind Waker savvy obviously, but like to me that was the dark times. That was a dark hour. That's when any percent was just like salt and tilt and you were in RNG hell. Like what couldn't you do? Like the run required fairies to just give you a like what even like I want to talk about it now. Oh my god, dude. What was the percentage? What was the mathematical chances of the fairy just being in your hover path? Like was there even like a way to calculate the percentage of success rate? Or was it just too random to even give it like a percentage? like
So when someone did the math when it was first discovered, and this was also using, I should say, a two fairy setup, which is the most amount because there was two pots with fairies in that room.
mhm.
Someone calculated that me and gymnasts' success rate was about a 2%, and then when we recalculated after hundreds of runs, we said that it's about a 1% chance. Each attempt took 2 minutes to try, and it was the last thing before the Gandor fight, over an hour into the run at the time. So any run you got to endgame had a 1% chance to survive. And also keep in mind the trick is really difficult. So you not only had to get the 1%, when you got it, had to get it and perform it perfectly. So I'm not kidding. I probably had a dozen runs where the fairy worked and I messed up my part because it's difficult and you have the 1%
Oh
chance.
no, it's difficult. It's pressure. It's like, what's the thing here? Sunken cost fallacy, where you're like, oh my god, I have lost 5 runs to this today. I cannot lose a run to this right. And you're adding like you just add extra pressure on yourself, and just like it gives you the
Yeah.
nerves, and you're just like you're
Yeah.
like you're mentally drained out, dude. Like you are completely on fumes, just on gas tank on empty, whatever. Yo, it's performance
Yeah.
anxiety can come in many ways. It's not
Mhm.
just like it's not just like oh I suck at this trick and therefore it's why I have
Yeah.
anxiety. No, it can be many things. Certainly, I
Yeah,
agree with that.
and remember that the part that you have to do at that point is mashing the B button, and to consistently guarantee not to fail the trick, you would have to do it frame perfectly, which is 15 times per second. So you're gonna be mashing the B button 15 times per second to guarantee that you're not gonna fail it. And you're gonna like when the fairy hits you, there's about a 5 second delay until it hits you. So when you see the fairy hit you, then you need to know I need to speed up my mashing to 15 times per second with the pressure on, that you need to like switch from pressing about 11 times per second to stay in place to 15 times. If you mash too much, you will drop and fail it. Too little, and if you're lucky, you can still get it, but that adds in another luck element, because if you didn't do it frame perfectly, then there was a 50% chance you would hit the ground for 1 frame and you would die while the fairy was healing you.
Dude, that's the part. That's where I get stressed out because it's like, okay, when you tell me there's a threshold where you can go too fast and have like dropped inputs, ignored input, missed input, it's just like, oh my god, there's a window. I have to like, because that's another one too. You want to just go full throttle. You want to just like let your emotions ride and just go. If you're drunk off of adrenaline, right? Like you're in the run, your splits are all goals. You're at a pace that's beyond your comprehension, which is scary, by the way, because it's one thing when you're on a pace you expect, but when you're on better than expected pace, oh my god, that is so stressful, and there's no way to win that. You're just like, oh my god, don't drop the run. And then now all you're doing when you do drop the run, obviously, is that you're comparing to that run you could have had. Like you're stuck in the shoulda, coulda, woulda, the hypothetical, rather than the, it's just, dude, it can get you so tilted. Oh my god, it's the worst.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, so like after practicing a lot, right? So I can reach up to 21 times, but that's the big problem is that's too fast. So when I actually did the trick, I averaged about 13 to 14 times per second because it's so bad. Your run is basically dead if you get over 15. You make to make sure. So because of that, runners value to only go 13, 14 times per second. So that meant you always had the luck element of the run dying, even if you got the fairy. Because, you don't want to consistently try and match 15 times knowing that one input too much can kill your run,
Right. So, okay, so when did you hear about this 2% and 1% success rate? Was that like early in the dark times, or that was like towards the end of it whenever you're like, man?
The 2% was done, the math was done for 2% the first week of it being discovered. The 1% recount was done a few months later, because what ended up happening is basically I dropped any percent because I was like done with that. I got the record, Gymnast got it, I got it back. It was just back and forth. And then when I got a really solid run, first try fairy, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I know I can improve 4 minutes in an early game, but that basically leaves up a 3% chance if I play better to beat it, right? So I was like, I'm done unless someone beats it. And what ended up happening was Gymnast sat down, and I think he had probably 40 or 50 runs ahead of my run by a few minutes, but just could not finish it because of the fairy luck, right? And obviously, that was for both of us, right? Like, obviously, I had better runs than that one run I got the first try fairy. But I would say that's the only positive outlook I would have about that entire situation was every single run was a no reset run. Like, every run. Because it was so rare to get a first try that you were like, oh wow, I lost 2 minutes. Oh, that's fine. I only have one less attempt on the fairy now. So that's the only thing I could say is that it was really refreshing to always play to end game.
No, yeah, it's great. It's great. And we kind of glossed over it earlier, but you were bringing up so many great discussion points about speedrunner don't do's. Resetting over a 10-second split when you can gain minutes. Okay, is it fair here to... Feel free to disagree with me or elaborate if you want to here. Is it fair to say that the golden rule should be, within reason, obviously, only reset when you can no longer PB? Or do you find it so... 100%.
100%. The only exception, I would say, is long speeder. Like, I can understand if you're running a 6-hour category and lost 5 minutes in early game, and you gotta play like your mind off for 5 hours in a row. That's like the one thing I could understand. But like, except for something like that crazy, 100%, even if you have 10 seconds to spare and you can still PB, I'd say keep going.
I absolutely agree. And you know what's sad is, to me, maybe to you as well, this feels like common sense now, but this is something I didn't even apply until like maybe 2015 at soonest, dude. I was just like how you were saying earlier, I was the saltiest, like, most tilted piece of shit streamer, speedrunner throughout 2013, dude. Like, 2011 to 2013, I was like, I gotta get the run. My self-worth, my self-image is tethered to how good my runs are. And I was just like, yeah, I couldn't handle it, man. The splits would get me on tilt, messing up would get me on tilt. I had unrealistic expectations. Dude, the whole thing was mega toxic, honestly. It was a mess. So I'm glad to hear that.
You can notice that with like long time runners. Like, you know who Caleb is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like if you look at Caleb back then compared to now, right? I think almost all of us that's just speedrunning for a long time, you can tell like how like the number one thing that changes is your mental game and how like how you stop raging as much. I think it's the one thing people underestimate.
Yeah.
100%.
I used to be scared of failure. Now I welcome failure. And honestly, whenever I'm doing a trick, I want to fail because I want to understand why it didn't work. I honestly get scared whenever I nail something consistently and I haven't failed it. Like a new trick, right? Let's say like I don't know, like whatever. Like there's a new clip in X point. If I read the pace spin on how to do it and I'm able to nail it within like I don't know 10 tries, I'm just like, oh, okay, now when do I? Because because the thing I don't want is I don't want to discover new things during the run. To me, if law 1 is that don't reset unless you can no longer PB. To me, law 2 is that run attempts are not the time to experiment. Run attempts are you testing what you've learned or what you now know. You know what I mean? Definitely. Like it's a test. So but yeah, okay, we dude, great points. We're really happy to hear about all this stuff here. So now I kind of derailed a bit into zombie hover, but now we can get into what I would dub, and this is where you can kind of go off on any tangent you'd like, because there's so many of them. I don't even know which ones are worth covering, which ones aren't here. But juicy advances in Wind Waker. There are so many things. I'm looking here right now. Right, we got barrier skip, we have super swimming, we have manual pause buffer super swimming, storage glitch. I don't even know what else you got in between that here as well here. But feel free to tell me here what when did the game? Well, okay, let's go back to the whole thing here. So juicy advances. Feel free to elaborate on which ones changed the game for you, which ones you like, which ones you don't like, and then finally, do you fear that the vanilla gameplay to speedrun exclusive gameplay ratio is getting too skewed out for Wind Waker? Is the game getting too broken, or am I phrasing that incorrectly in your opinion?
Let's break down the question because there was a lot. I'll start off by I guess first is the glitches and then move on from there. So start off first with the glitches. Like I said earlier, item sliding. Then you just saw that on stream, so I guess I can talk about it right now because it was just on the VOD. And that's a barrier skip. And I think that's also where a lot of the shift focused to people actually, I guess, really opening their eye to what's happening with Wind Waker right now. I'm sure you heard about it too, even if you're not into Wind Waker speedrunning.
Oh, no. Barrier skip is the be-all, end-all. There was the...
Yeah.
Isn't there a great video on it on YouTube? I forget who made it though. Was it Gymnast who made that video?
The really good video is by Taran. He's one of the actual editors for Linus Tech Tips. One went very viral. It has millions of views. Exactly. So barrier skip was this kind of. I would say there's two big things in the speedrun community that was these talked about skips and glitches. It was Palace skip for 1,000 Year Door, and it was barrier skip for Wind Waker. And the reasoning for those was because both of those were theoretically you can maybe do it, and if you can, it breaks the entire game, which you don't have a lot of situations like that. And the reasoning why Wind Waker was the most popular one was obviously because it's a Zelda game. Her sister was running at the time. She had a very popular video going into dozens of ways people have tried it, because the brilliant thing about barrier skip was that you have access to seeing the end of the game already a third of the way through the game. However, you can't reach it because of this barrier. So immediately when item sliding was found, some lore right here, people immediately went, okay, can item sliding finally solve the puzzle of barrier skip? And then about a few days after item sliding was found, someone uploaded a video of him being behind the barrier saying, oh wow, I did barrier skip, this is where I did it. And he was freaking out, and everyone basically looked at it and said, this is fake. He used cheat codes to go behind. There's no way this is real.
And you're referring to the clip of the person on the emulator with the analog stick HUD, the actual, yes. or just a different incident.
It's the same guy, but in a different time. But yeah, so what ended up happening is a few people believed him. Another guy sat down, tried it, and after I think he put 70 hours into trying it, which keep in mind this is a 1 second element trick. He was able to get it on stream, and it was clipped, and everyone saw, oh wow, barrier skip is possible.
Okay, that's the one I saw then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's the famous "I did it." If you've ever heard that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he got that, and everyone freaked out, and it was like, okay, this is real. Everyone jumped in again and just trying it, and also some people even apologized, because they were thinking, the other guy was faking it. The unfortunate part, though, was after about 200 hours of community, like the community coming together all around trying it, no one could recreate it. And also, the clip of the guy using it, he had iron boots on. And that's an item you get so late in the game that meant that you would save 2 minutes if you could perform it with iron boots. So and if you watch my first GDQ run on HDQ 2017, just when item sliding was found, I even mentioned this. I said, yeah, it's task only. We'll never get it to work. Even if we can, it only saves 2 minutes. Then God blessed like tool assisted speedruns and taskers and just like all around people that are in the modding community. A guy by the name of Dragonbane, he made a tool that would live on your Wii U write information every single frame with every value in the game, like speed, X by Z positioning, angle, you name it, to your SD card. So that if you happen to get barrier skip, you could take the SD card, send him the file, and he could put it on an emulator, and you could try it out and recreate it exactly how it was done. So literally,
snap.
Yeah. So almost an entire year later, after item sliding was found, one person got it with the SD card recording the tools, and then the next day, like just this tweet went viral of basically barrier skip is possible, doesn't require iron boots. You just need to be at this exact positioning, because basically what Nintendo did by accident was they basically have a cylinder around the barrier, right?
Right.
And the invisible walls are not a perfect circle. It's like polygons that's meeting up like this with a small angle. And there's a few pixels right in between two of them that are missing. However, like this, you need to be in a specific speed range and need to be in that exact positioning with a perfect angle to get it to work. And that's why it took so long to get it. Then we went into working with it. We found a setup, and the setup were also in the beginning. It was crazy difficult because there's the 360 degrees. The game can register about 80,000 angles, and only 11 of them worked. Only 11 of them will work for the barrier skip with the setup we use. So that meant that you're literally looking. I think you can have a difference of 2 pixels for the visual cube. But yeah, so we went out, we got it, and that meant that the any person speedrun went from 3.5 hours to in 3 days going down to a 1.5 hour run.
Wow.
Because instead of beating every single dungeon and getting the full Triforce, you instead literally just rush to get every single item, not beating a single dungeon, using a trick to go down to high roll early, and then literally just doing barrier skip and then going to the ferry.
Right. So slow down for me here, okay? Because this is such a rare thing to see a game this mature, this many years active of runners, to just see like this happen where just the run cuts in half, eventually less than half. What was that like those 3 days for you? Like what did you particularly do? Did you were you on any percent actively at that time of discovery of barrier skip confirmed?
Oh yeah, like you were talking about earlier, like the adrenaline and like just keeping up and hyped. I was traveling at the time when the clip was found on Twitter, but he hadn't said how he would do it yet. I had 4 hours of sleep. I ended up that night doing an all-nighter, stayed awake for over 24 hours. I slept for 4 hours, woke up, streamed like 18 hours the next day, slept like 4 or 5 hours. For the first week, I would say I was averaging probably 17, 18 hours of streaming a day, because the hype of just actually having this thing that we've been like theorizing, for like literally a dozen years, was just so mind blowing. And it was basically just, people were coming in, they were watching the run. You play the run for an hour, get to ferry hover, and just keep trying it. And in the beginning, I would even say that it was fun, right? Because that chance that any run could be a record, because no one could optimize the run, right? Because the first record, I think, had like a 40 or 50 minute time loss on it. The next day, it was like 20 minutes. So before, like, the time loss was less than 10 minutes, took us a solid week, right? So I would say it was so fun because the hype was unreal. People were coming in, like, at the time, like, even, like, massive people outside the speedrun community. I remember, like, one guy that was playing Dark Souls, he rated me with, like, 8,000 viewers because he happened to see the clip on YouTube. So this went, like, far beyond the speedrun community, right? So it was just an unreal week, honestly.
All right, here's what I want to know. I want to know, what was that feeling when you had that monster gold split? Where you're just like, did you make new splits whenever the skip was found? Or did you, like, keep some of your, like, your segment times on new splits? Okay. So I was like, man, I want when you hit this like crazy ass, you know, negative 3 hour split, like what even. Now, okay, cool. So another guy in chat actually asked here, how do you play that well on such small amount of sleep? And I want to emphasize here that the adrenaline. Honestly, when you're on the run, or when you just have just like, I don't know how to really explain it if you don't speedrun, maybe. But like when you're on a run, there is a crazy amount of adrenaline that's going through you, and you can feel that waning whenever you lose the run. When you lose the run, you're like you come back, you're on cloud nine. When you come back down, you're like, okay, well now my hands feel heavy. Now my shoulders feel heavy. I want to bring them back down. Like you're just like you know, it's like when you lean forward, you're just like focusing so hard and involuntarily. You get this terrible posture going on for like 45 minutes plus on end, because you're like coked up on adrenaline. It's insane. Yo, dude, Streets 112, man. So it's a rush. What a rush!
Oh yeah,
it's a rush.
I mean every run, and that's also another thing you mentioned. And like, you know how like if you have a good run, you lose it, you get more tired, because every run had a possibility of recording. That kept the hype up for every run, right? And also for me at the time, I think I had like 15 or 20,000 followers, and I was averaging about 200 viewers. I was having over 1,000 viewers every one of these streams for the first, I would say, 2 weeks of this, right? So for some like small streamer like me, it wasn't just the hype of the run, but also I have a consistent chat to talk to, right? Like I'm not sitting silently, you know, which you can have sometimes when you're a smaller streamer, you know. But you know, having always a chat to talk to, like that also helped me a lot. And I'm sure like when you've done marathons, you can agree, like talking to a chat all the time makes it a lot easier to stay awake when you're tired, compared to if you're sitting there silently, you know, you're just trying to play the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So just all together, everything combined just helped so much.
Okay, well, we started with the big one. Now, if this is gonna go downhill from here, but let's if you wouldn't mind, let's bring on to the juicy advances of Wind Waker. Tell me about where you were whenever super swimming became a thing, because I recall like before super swimming, getting sub 5 hours 80% was like the goal to go for, and then I want to say Narcissa had just nailed a sub 5 hour, and then and she was ready to like, you know, move on because Wind Waker had been done to what it could be within reason, because it's already a long category. And then bam, super swimming like a week later happens. Where were you at that time, or were you not active in Wind Waker during the discovery of super swimming?
Sure. But before I just answer that, I want to say for everyone, by the way, watching, this is the if you're watching the stream, I'm doing the trick right now to get around Fairy Hover with the newest route. If you want to get an idea of how the glitch looks like, this is when you kill a morph instead, which drops a heart. So I'm mashing, and then you have to do a frame perfect bow shot to kill the morph instead to get around it, and then basically you land into the heart. So that's the way around it now without the luck. If you're wondering how the luck element got basically disappeared.
Yeah, that split is juicy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. God bless not having to do that trick anymore. But yeah, sorry about that.
No, I agree. That was great to call it out.
All right, awesome. But yeah, so super swimming. So I started Wind Waker the original version after everything was discovered.
Okay.
However, I was around the HD community when the game came out. I tried a run. I thought it was bad. It was around the time when Super Sim was found, and that's also how I got to know Gymnast, actually. So it was just like during the summer. It was literally like 2 days before Summer Games Done Quick, you know, was starting, and you know how it is with these events. You usually go there a day or two before, you know. And while we are at Summer Games Done Quick, this clip gets posted of item sliding. And it was discovered in this crazy way too. Someone was using Homebrew to force themselves to use a GameCube controller because they didn't like the Wii U controllers. And the mapping wasn't properly set, so if you were like neutral, the character would slowly walk downwards all the time. So he was just walking a direction, released the analog stick, it snapped back in place in one frame, held slightly down because the dead zone was so poorly mapped, and he just slided forward. And we were, you know, debunking this at ShittyQ that year. And I remember like Gymnast sitting in the practice room just trying this out because he was upset he couldn't stream this, right? Mm-hmm. So like the entire practice room that ShittyQ in 2016 was just all just Wind Waker and Wind Waker HD people just coming together to just try and figure it out. And it was actually a really cool experience to like have such a big trick discovered, and also doing that, you know, in like at place, instead of online.
Oh, wow, sick. Now you bring up here that like you and Gymnast and other Wind Waker runners all assembled as like a collective brain trust at some points at GDQ. Do you I feel it's kind of the because you've been to GDQ, you've even performed there. And I feel like a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So if I can just do a minor derail here, were y'all able to? Was there anything y'all were able to accomplish all assembled together IRL in the same room at GDQ? That's noteworthy. So I love
I
it
would
when.
say like,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
oh yeah, so sorry. I would say like kind of like the timing and feeling, like getting the feeling down, because like, I mean, for example, like knowing how to hold like ESS, right? You have to hold slightly down. If I just tell you online, you just hold slightly down. That's kind of hard to be like, how much is that? Being able to see live people figuring out, okay, this is kind of the area on the analog stick you gotta hold, or like what timing you need to press the target, because there's no visual cues for how much speed you have. You have to literally just get a feeling for it, and also kind of be able to read how fast your red dot is bumping depending on how well you're holding the analog stick, because that will change how long you need to charge up. It's kind of those like small details that's so hard to go into online, but when you're like physically there watching someone do it, I would say that was the biggest thing that helped a lot. And then kind of just brainstorming ideas, like could you maybe do this to like go through this wall. I remember like some small stuff like going through a room in Dragon Roost, or like a boss key skip in Forbidden Woods, and that stuff was being tested because like we figured out that walls doesn't really behave as well with a lot of speed. So maybe you could possibly like clip through this wall or that wall. So like altogether, I would say like just brainstorming ideas mixed with seeing the inputs was definitely the biggest impact.
Dope. Dope. Okay. Well, okay. So here's the next one then. So aside from like juicy advances in Wind Waker, um, let's get into that. 'Cause I asked you like a bunch of questions here. If you find manual super swimming worth going into, we can. These are the ones here that just like you can tell me through. Like if we already kind of touched on a little bit here, we can skip them. But do you
Sure.
manual super swimming and storage glitch are these two that you would like to? Would you like to go further into them, or are you feeling?
Storage is probably fine in my opinion. It does not too much to go over. Manual super swimming is definitely such a one-off kind one, and I'm sure because the 90% run on the stream is about to be over almost, you will actually
Mhm.
see it in the beginning of the 100% run very very soon. Uh, Basically, we've known for a very long time that because of tool assisted speedruns, that if you turn the analog stick in another direction frame perfectly, so like 30 times per second, you could actually get negative speed, because Nintendo forgot to put a speed cap for how fast you can go backwards, only forward.
Yeah, right, right.
And because every time you turn around, it adds a small amount of negative speed, and the intention of that is you can turn around and keep your full speed, so it slows you down for a little bit. That meant that if you frame perfectly turn around, you can get like more than zero, and you could get enough to actually super sim with this. And for the longest time, we thought that this is not possible for a human. And this is the only, also another good thing I would say about Fairy Hover, because Gymnast was struggling so much to beat the record, because Fairy Hover was such a like annoying part. You had to get it within 2 or 3 tries. He was looking desperately for any time saves. So what he ended up deciding to do was he wanted to try and pause buffer this trick. So he basically wanted to, like, for example, hold up an analog stick, pause and unpause the game, frame perfectly. It has to be frame perfect. One frame early, it will not register your pause. A frame late, you won't get any speed. Then hold down, unpause and pause frame perfectly, and do this basically 200 times back to back
Whoa,
to
whoa.
just get
Okay,
enough.
I actually did not know that the. I don't know. For some reason, I just thought it would be like it's just annoying and obnoxious to do for 5 minutes straight. I didn't know that it was frame perfect the entire. Oh,
Yeah,
oh my god.
if you're one frame early, your run is mostly dead. If it's one frame late, the only good thing about it is you're not gonna lose speed, but you don't gain any speed. So you're staying at its flat zero. So in the beginning, what we did was it took us like 5 6 minutes to do. For reference points, we take us about 2 minutes now, because we paused slightly later so that it would either be frame perfect or 2 frames, which meant that we either gained speed or didn't lose or gain any speed. Um, so that's the only leeway you have. So yeah, you got to do basically frame perfect pause buffers at least 200 times, and like that's why it's. I would say it's that this is where you kind of came into earlier. Where do you think glitches could almost ruin a speed run? I would say the speedrun is more fun with this trick, but it makes it so rough to pick up. Like I had to take breaks because of the extreme hand pain. Because you can imagine like practicing this, getting like trying to get this, timing down, and you got to be pausing. It took me, I would say, it probably took me 50 or 60 hours of just doing this element of pausing to get down the timing necessary to even just do it in a run. And I remember I had to take like so many breaks. I remember I had to take like days off Wind Waker in the beginning because it was causing such an extreme amount of hand pain, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, RSI is doing the same movement, uh, and yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Nowadays, it's a lot better. Like good runners, like me or like Ian or Jim. I would say in general, like today I did 3 runs and I got it first try every single time. I would say on average, you probably have like a 40-50% consistency. It's not bad anymore because eventually, after months of doing this trick, if you only have to do one element 2 or 4 minutes in a row, it's not really causing any hand pain. But when you're new to the game and you maybe take an hour to get it once to get a run going, then obviously that's gonna suck. So I'd say that's the first part where I felt like it was very unfortunate almost to have that trick, because even though it made the speedrun more fun and the routes became so much more like interesting because you could route with such freedom now, it also caused a shift where very like way fewer people picked up the game because they were like, I don't want to start running with a 20-minute disadvantage, but I can't get this trick down. And not many people want to spend a week or two just doing like pressing a pause button.
Yeah, huge barrier of entry because the trick is so insane. No, yeah, that's yikes. Wow, I didn't know it was like that, man. That's crazy. Can you elaborate real quick from here? So for super swimming, what controller like do you use a different controller than other people? Like, is it? I assume that all of y'all use the Wii U pad, but do you what are people using for this thing? GameCube?
Yeah,
Uh,
I no. The only controllers you have is the Wii U Pro controller
okay.
and the Pro controller. Those are the only 2 ones. I'm the only runner that uses the Pro controller. It's actually slower because you don't have gyroscope controls, so
Uh
you
huh.
aim slower,
Uh huh.
and it's also harder to use because you can't see through the pause screen, so you can't pause buffer tricks as easily. I use it because I ended up developing a hand pain and hand problems because the weight of the Pro controller or the gamepad, using that every day, 12 hours a day. Like I never had a problem with it before, but when you're running, you know full time, the extra additional weight actually caused me a lot of hand problems. So I took the hit, took the small time loss, and switched controller. And thankfully, I am not really dealing with hand problems anymore thanks to that change. But yeah. So in general, I'm the only one that actually uses that Pro controller.
And so you use the Pro controller as because you're the exception for the most part. Everyone else uses the Wii U pad. Is that correct?
Yes, the Wii gamepad
Ooh
exactly.
boy. Yeah, that's honestly I'm in a similar boat here. Most people for Mario Maker use the Wii U pad because it's like because you got so many frame perfect things and you don't want to leave it up to like a variable on your refresh rate on your monitor or input lag or
Yeah.
display lag. So people just habitually just started using their Wii U pad and just staring at their little screen there to ensure a minimal lag experience. Whereas I used the Wii U Pro controller like for the first month of Mario Maker, and because I kept putting off like figuring out what controller I wanted to use, and then I had developed all my muscle memory for Mario Maker just because I was being lazy about it, and ended up using the Pro controller, which is not good by the way, because the as you already know, the struggles here with the Wii U Pro controller is that like maybe you do, maybe you don't know actually, but the D pad it feels great, but it registers jank, man. You can hold forward, I mean hold right, and I mean all the way right, and it'll still read up or
Yeah.
down, and you're just like, I didn't want to. Why? I didn't want to go through that door. Like you're in front of a
Yeah.
door, you want to run past the door, and you're holding up somehow. I don't even get. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's the membrane beneath the D-pad is like stupid or whatever,
No,
but just
the Pro controllers for designed, the C sticks also like to fail. So like for example, like because they sold so badly, the Wii U, people are reselling Pro controllers for like 120, $150 almost now.
wait, what?
So like yeah, like people are reselling brand new ones. Like I saw one listing in Sweden for like $100. I've seen them in the US literally sell for $120. So when the Wii U, and I also find it because like sometimes retails find a bunch of stock and it goes down, because it's still in stock, right, for some stores. So, but there's periods of times where it's selling for over $100. So I literally went to my local store and bought up 5 of them. because I knew that they like this controller wears out for me in about 9 or 10 months because the C stick is so bad it just breaks down. They're horrible compared to any other controller I've used. So I bought up a huge stock of $60 because I'm like, this is insane.
No, I don't blame you. Honestly, any given Mario Odyssey speedrunner can tell you the same thing. 6 months of Mario Odyssey with spin pounding, your controller is going to be done. Like, you just there's going to be a point where it's going to drain out. So I feel you on that pain there. I did not know about that resale market though. Holy crap, that is dumb.
I know
That
it's
is
it's
dumb.
crazy. Like my gamepad was failing, and I wanted to buy a new Wii U. And if you don't want to get a Japanese one and deal with homebrew, and you want to get like a good one, now the price went down. But right when they discontinued it, they were selling in box new for about $600 or $700. Thankfully, though,
Yeah.
they got screwed over because stock came up. Now it's 300 400 again, which is very nice for me. But no, they've been reselling like crazy. Like Wii U is already a collectible
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it
yeah.
sold
No,
so
Wii
bad.
U's always been. I've never. It's always been tough. I remember when people always ask me, where can I find? They would watch me play Mario Maker, and they would like, where can I find a Wii U and a Mario Maker deal cheap? And I'm like, well, first off, the Mario Maker Wii U bundle was always scalped. That thing was never in stock. Those were always never. You're better off buying it
Yeah.
buying two separately. And even then, I found frequently because again they under manufactured it. You could never find like a Wii U for face value. Like it was never 300 flat. It was always like 350 or 380. It was actually toxic online. It was pretty annoying.
Oh yeah. I always recommend people just get a used one, honestly, and just buy the game separately. That's your best way to go because new are just horrible.
Yeah. Did you? So whenever you were like grinding hard on Wind Waker HD, and you probably were convincing some of your viewers and fan base to like, hey, I like Linkus playing this. I want to play it too. And then they're like, hey, what's a good price? Like, what were you telling them in 2016 when they're like, hey, I want to get a Wii U with Wind Waker HD? What's a good price to settle for? Because I can't find this thing at I can't find this bundle at face value. I don't know what to do at this point. What would you tell
I
them?
mean, I said back then like if you find one for $150 used, get it. And that's still, in my opinion, crazy for a used console, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When it was old, but no, that's why I'm praying. Like, and I've been talking about this a lot. Like, and I'm so happy about the leaks. Hopefully, like referring to this, that they might re-release Wind Waker HD on the Switch. Because the number one reasoning I think why people struggle is because it's on the Wii U. I see so many people like saying that they don't own a Wii U, right? So if they
Mhm.
really release it on the Switch, I think it's gonna create a whole new like
Yeah.
section of people picking it up.
Always aim for accessibility. Like the more accessible the game is, the more thriving your community for the speed run of that game will be, and the bigger your community, the more eyes you have on the current problems that you're trying to tackle in your speed game. Which actually brings me to the next point here, which is I kind of had this question for you. So part one is I'm sorry, gotta change my topic here. Part one is what's currently task only in Wind Waker. Is there things that like I don't know like that's like emulator or task territory only that you feel one day could be real time viable if given a real time setup for it, or 'cause I know Wind Waker's gotten a lot of advances in the last 5 years, but what's still off the table for real time attackers?
So the problem with that is Wind Waker HD does not have task support yet.
Oh
So
shit.
all of the tricks that were tasks only were on board. So the homebrew community made live task tools, as they call it, which means you can't save. Like you can't save inputs and replay it back or use save states, but you could advance frame by frame to guarantee your inputs to be perfect. That was the closest we had. And the only tricks we thought about that were task only was manual super swim and the faster way to complete the end of the run with that morph trick. So the tricks that we thought were task only are now implemented, all of them. So we actually don't have a certain task only trick that we don't actually have implemented into the run. That's, I would say, ever consistent. Like you could in theory get perfect speed and like not super swim ever, but just hop from one island to another in one frame. But because there's no visual cue, there's no audio cue. It's frame perfect and position perfect on analog stick. Like that, like unless we find new methods for island hopping, we probably will ever use that.
Okay, okay. Well, that's I actually didn't know that. Dang. I didn't know that. I thought. You know, you're right. I'm dumb because Dolphin's GameCube emulator, and I don't know why I thought
Yeah.
Dolphin was Wii U for some reason, or Dolphin could do Wii U or something stupid like that. I'm
However,
dumb.
Cmu, the Wii U emulator, is about to release task tools actually, so we're close to getting it.
Ooh, all right.
So it's going to be really exciting.
Okay. So now the count of this here. So what's currently tasks only? The follow up here is what's on your wish list of things you would like to do in Wind Waker HD. Because this is funny because the reason why I asked this question is because ZFG had a pace spin, I believe in like 2000. I forget if it's 2008 or 2011. He had a pace spin of like things he wished that you can do in Ocarina of Time one day eventually, and then like by like 3 years later, all of them and more were found. That whole the pace spin's like it's a giant like. I don't want to call it a meme, just like it's a great reminder of the time. Like they got everything they wanted and more from that pace spin sense.
Oh, wow.
So
I gotta look that up now. I'm curious.
yeah, dude, I had it. Let me check. I'll check for you if I can find it for you because I think
Alright,
I think I DM'd it to ZFG like 4 years ago. I will have to check our DMs or whatever.
Cool.
But yeah, so fill me in here. What's on your wish list, if anything, that you wish you could do in Waker that possibly eventually.
My number one hope at this moment would be a way to get speed in the water without turning around every frame, right? Manual super swim. And it's more for hand health as well as accessibility. That would be like the number one thing, right? Second of all, I would love the number one wish glitch is we have ways to do like weird shots and odd shots, which is basically a way to glitch your hook shot to have a view under the map or over the map, which are used for 100% speedruns. But we don't have any way to do it without the hook shot, and you have to hook shot an object because it's just the camera. It's not Link himself that's moving. So if we could find a way to actually gain height without being dead, for example, with like an upwards item slide or something, I think that would be the biggest thing that like we're really hoping to find. And like we've had like cases where we're not getting closer or finally understanding weird shots upwards, which is a good like start. But I'm very much hoping that we will be able to figure that out so that we can gain height and reach areas in not just distance but height wise.
Okay. So if I can here, if I could give you one homework assignment, I highly encourage you take what you just said right now, pace spin, tweet it out. And let it age like fine wine. I promise you, it's crazy how this happens because like you come back in 5 years and you're just like, holy shit. Maybe even 3 years. If you get a Switch port, that probably will lead to another resurgence of new eyeballs on the current problems that could be solved one day by the continually thriving Wind Waker community. One, because I hate to make it anecdotal here again, but just like Yoshi's Island. I loved it. I've been active since 2004, and for the longest time, 100% speedruns, they were a big meme because of the bonus challenges. And from 04 to 2012, it was a giant meme because you're losing 35 minutes in the run because of some RNG bullshit with the bonus challenges. Then someone figures it out. Hey, actually, they're not random. You just gotta lose a certain amount of speed in proximity to the goal ring. And
Wait,
suddenly,
really?
yeah, bonus skips didn't happen until March 2012, and that completely changed the category and made 100% speedruns viable. Before then, all you had was individual level stuff. So yeah, and that's because we had a community. Before streaming, there was not really much community for Yoshi's Island, but we had our 20-25 runners, and just having that one person, Z-Wing, discover that skip. Changed the entire thing. Made the category go from being 3.5 hours down to sub 3 within a week, just like that. So you got to make that wish list, man. I'm telling you, it's gonna blow everyone away whenever y'all revisit it in a couple years.
I definitely got it, but I gotta ask. So which year was the one where you did your Yoshi run and the fire alarm went off? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was 2014.
That was okay, yeah, because that was the first time I watched you and the Yoshi speedrun. So for me, I always thought that was common knowledge. It's crazy to hear the background of that was something you consider luck that you figured out. That's mind-boggling to hear. And also I'm sure if you went back and looked, you would be so furious, just knowing how many runs you lost because of the lack of knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't even that. We didn't. Well, again, it was discovered in March 2012, but I never. There were not a lack of runs. I thought the run was a giant meme. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, I thought, yeah, this is stupid. The world record is it was some Japanese guy. I forget his name, but begin with an F. And he, yeah, world record was like 3 hour 35 minutes, and it would just like hover between. It would slowly come down, but it was always like in the 330s because it was just like 35 minutes of bonus challenges because those were like kind of random too which bonus game you got. The roulette 8 seconds lost. Match cards 36 seconds lost. 54 levels in the game. So it's like it's just it was just like it'd be one thing if you could manipulate which game you got, but you couldn't even do that, and you still can't do that honestly. So it's just like yeah, it was just like, what am I gonna do, bro? Like, you can lose me. You do the math there. I think someone did the math before. Actually, it was like the variables between getting 54 of the least bad bonus games versus getting 54 of the worst one. Like the variable there is like over 18 minutes. I want to say alone. Yeah, it was. Dude, so to me, it was just a giant meme. So I never bothered with it until that happened.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, you gotta do that wish list. I'll follow up with you. I'll get you that. If I find them, I'll tweet it out to you. The ZFG 2011 basement. It'll be adorable.
Awesome. I'm definitely gonna do that. I mean, actually, I know. Speaking of which, I know some people in the community did for specific smaller skips that would help categories. And the crazy thing is, we already found 2 of them because we were basically someone made a list of the boss key skips and dungeon skips only they wanted to find, and we have figured out every one of them but one now. And the most recent was like 2 months ago, so that's like what helped this speedrun of the 100% you're watching right now like happen even because it saved like 2 minutes, and it's actually using new tech as well. Like with item sliding, we're still figuring out more ways to use item sliding. It was this crazy thing where like if you held your analog stick downwards partway through the item slide, your speed is still charging, but it's positive speed because the water is so close to the surface. It thinks you're in the water for a frame, which caps your speed at like, you know, the maximum roll speed, so you don't fall off the game and crashes. So like it's crazy.
Okay, well let's before we so we're about to get into the mental stuff because I'm running out of like game stuff to talk about here. But now that I'm watching this 100% run now, I actually would love to ask you about the mental the mental stuff on the category changes. Like so, we're gonna pivot a little bit here. So first question is what inspired you to go from any percent? I assume you started there to go into hundo. What inspired that?
So what? Okay, I tried it beforehand, but what really brought me to motivated to play it was what we kind of touched on earlier. It was the fact that when the speedrun was becoming like so reset heavy, you know, it had the luck, but even without it, you know, it was only becoming an hour. I kind of lost the love because I mean, obviously, I was running Wind Waker because you know it's my favorite Zelda game, and I felt that it was stupid that I couldn't experience the game because it was just watch a cutscene, get an item, watch a cutscene, watch an item, go there, then beat the game, right? So I didn't get to really play the game. I didn't get to even beat a single dungeon. So I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't care if this category, at the time when I picked it up, it was around 6.5 hours long. Now it's about 5.5 hours long. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna optimize this category because I don't wanna just play nothing of the game anymore. And that was my number one motivator factor was being able to play more of the game.
Is there a reason 100% over? Is there a category called all dungeons? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Why hundo over all dungeons? Was that one not as interesting to look into further?
The biggest reason why that one was because it had 2 tricks that were luck based, and they were about an hour and a half and 2 hours in. And obviously 100% does have luck as well, but the difference at the time was for all dungeons, when you have a 2.5 hour long category, you kind of gotta need close to perfect luck, right? While when it's a 6 hour run, not only keeping the consistency, but then having the luck necessary, it allows room for failure, if that makes sense.
No, I understand.
You don't need perfect luck to get a record. Well, you know, you had to get it almost perfectly for all dungeons. So it was just kind of that nice feeling of not having to rely as much as luck. And I mean, unfortunately, like 100% now, you know, I've been playing this category, you know, for about half a year now, every day, and been running it for over a year. It's gotten to a similar part now where it's more relying more on luck, unfortunately, because it's so little time to optimize left. But it's still, in my opinion, more fun than like all dungeons for the most of it because there's just so much more to play in the game.
So, okay, now on that note here, I gotta ask you about the hot button. It might have been before your time, but you probably can tell us more about it regardless here. Um, Defining 100%. I recall this being a big deal back in, like, I think 2013 was the first time, like, people were really considering 100% as, like, a serious category. And I remember, what I'm trying to phrase it correctly here. The big hot button was a lot of people were saying that every trackable inventory item on the pause screen should be the 100% definition, right? But then people were being advocates saying that I might be phrasing it wrong here. The tinkle maps, that the maps should be included, even though some people said that that was boring and dumb and they didn't want to have that included in the category.
Yeah.
Right? Is that am I phrasing it correctly? Is that what it was?
That's basically correct. Exactly. Yeah, no, that was a big part about it. So that's kind of I'm sure you can like maybe even give some insight into like some of your speedruns as well here. But it kind of had to we kind of wanted to make the rule set more about the fun of the run rather than just the perfection of the run. I guess if that makes any sense. Basically, what the definition we ended up deciding on was that if you pause the game, everything you have on the pause screen has to be completed. So like all items, all treasure charts, etc. But then on the original GameCube version, if you press D-pad up, you had the map screen, right? And to fill that out to 100% that, you had to like, sail to all of the coordinates in the game, all 49 of them, feed this little fish man, and then also like salvage shards. It was just a long process of just sailing and no fun with it at all. And you can't speed it up with super swimming at all because you need the boat for this, right? So we kind of just decided that this would add an additional hour or two to the run, and this is only sailing, right? So we're just going to make the definition consistent and say only pause screen. But that kind of caused some confusions when HD came out because the combined, so you have tabs when you pause the game for items and map.
God.
And then people were like, well, it's on the pause screen, so you should add that. And we were like, listen, it's literally 2 hours of sailing you're asking to add. Like, we're gonna keep this consistent rule set from the original game, and that's it.
There we go. Speed running is already arbitrary. I look at it like that, and I'm a big advocate for, look, I'm always down for whatever makes the game fun and accessible. The minute you make it into this like arbitrary, like it's inherently arbitrary, but you want to like trying to like form it into some kind of frigid thing, you're just gonna like alienate people. And when you do that, your community's already gonna be on a decline, and from there it's gonna be more niche appeal, and it's gonna be the death of your game eventually at some point.
Oh yeah. There's and also there's the figurines aspect. I don't know if you've ever heard about that, but basically you can take it. You played Breath of the Wild, so you might know this. Like you can take pictures of things, right?
Right.
So you can take a picture of all NPCs and kind of like characters around the game. Go and trade them in to get a figurine made, and it's only displayed in this one figurine shop. And people also wanted that in the run, and actually made a category around that called 100% all menus plus all figurines, which is what people called it. Some people want to call it true 100%.
Right.
But that run is like 10 hours long with optimization and good routes. And I mean, that's what it comes down to, my opinion, is even if you think that like it should be that for the normal 100%, no one is going to run a 10-hour cat, especially when you pick it up. It's going to take you probably 10-15 hours. Like it's so much to learn, and like it's just not accessible. It's fun for me to do one run here and there, like as a special run, because it adds like stuff I never experience and a new route. But running that consistently every day, like you're not running a 10-hour category with resets every day. Like that's just
there's no way. So my thing about that is like, all right, this is why I hate giving it a specific number here, but to me, I feel like reasonably the cap on just efficient speedrunning, the category, it's got to cap out somewhere around the 5-hour mark. It can be a little bit longer, it can be a little bit shorter, but within reason, like people, even speedrunners are not going to have, full-time streamers are not going to have like, more than, I would say comfortably 10 hours every day, like every day or on an average day to dedicate. So if you look at it like something basic, like you want to put in either 2 runs a day or you want to do half practice and then you want to go for 1 run attempt, when your run's 5 hours long, you're already capped. 2 runs, that's 10 hours. Honestly, two runs, bathroom break, food break, mental break, that's probably 12 hours right there, honestly, right? 5 hours, 5 hours, 2 hours. You do half day practice, half day of 1 run attempt, or let's add in an extra hour for, let's say call it like a reset buffer if you get like an early time loss, as you said before, because it's a long game. That already there, that's 11 hours right there too as well, and just like when you make your run longer than 5, you're just like there's just a point of diminishing return on like, okay, yeah, if you're gonna run FF9, which by the way, and this is why I love to in a future episode get some JRPG speedrunners on here, because I want to hear about how the fuck they do it whenever you're doing these like 9-hour categories that just like how do you do it? I can't even compute it, honestly. That's why I'm just like I'm not interested in most things that are going to be longer than 5 hours. But that's like my soft, my soft cap for myself. But I'd love to hear from them how they do it, because maybe I have a thing or two I can learn, honestly.
Yeah, so, I mean, like 100% in this game is about 5 hours and 40 minutes. So the two most reset heavy parts, which is purely luck, is 30 minutes in and an hour in. If you get past that, you almost always have a run going. The unfortunate part is like you have like a 1 in 10 to get past the 30-minute mark, and 1 in 5 to get past the 1 hour mark. Fortunately, you can try that 3 times though, but it's still like you can imagine like it takes a while. Like I can spend a day not getting it. So how I treat 100% when I run it is I will do attempts for about 2 hours, and if I don't get a run going, I'll switch category, because as a full-time streamer, I'm like, okay, the run is about 6 hours long, 2 hours of attempts. If I get a run going now, it's about an 8-hour stream, full work day. That's fine. Past that, I'm just like, I'm not gonna keep doing attempts, because if I didn't get a run going in 5 hours, I mean, this is a 12-hour stream, doing that full time, like it's not healthy for you.
I agree, and which can lead to shocker, burnout. Right, which we are about to get to, but let's have one last thing for you, one last gameplay thing here. This is the final part of that million-part question I gave you earlier, which was, let's talk about that percentage, like speedrun exclusive gameplay versus vanilla gameplay. We talked before about how like 80% now with manual super swimming and skipping a shit ton of the game at this point now. What is your take on categories of games that like have less than 50% vanilla gameplay, and it's majority like speedrun tech? It's like speedrun tech into a glitch, into a thing, and you're doing so little just like walking forward because you're so busy like doing everything backwards or unintended. Do you find does that bother you if this game got like Ocarina of Time broken? Do you find it's already there, or what's your take on the whole thing?
I wouldn't say it's there. However, like, I mean, I literally think that if it got to that point, I think it would turn into an Ocarina of Time situation. Like, if you look, like, I mean, the easy example to track stuff, right, is viewer basis. If you look at Ocarina of Time, the most popular category is 100%. Any percent, even if you're a record computer, is not gonna get a lot of views. And it's the same with runners. People pick it up because it's easy accessible. They try a few runs, but not a lot of people stick around with it, because you don't want to spend 17 minutes playing the same thing over and over again. And I think that's what it comes down to with any percent, right? I did a few 80% runs very recently because I had an event. I went to TwitchCon, if you didn't know, and had a run there. So I picked it up recently, but otherwise, any percent is this thing where like maybe a few days a month I will do a few runs, or like I want to end the stream, I want to do a short 1 hour run, I'll do an attempt or two. But I mean, it's already to a point to where for example, like now I do the manual super swim, and then I play through Dragon Roost for up until the 20-minute mark, right? That's basically just go from room to room to room. There's nothing exciting, right? Finally get that, I then get an item, and I then go to a place, watch a cutscene. Get an item, watch a cutscene. Get an item, watch a cutscene. It doesn't get exciting until you get to pup again, and then the adrenaline's pumping in a good pace. But that's 45, 50 minutes in, and you're making it there, 5% of the time, because the run is so hard, it's so reset heavy. There's so many skips to get to that part that I don't find it fun anymore. And that's why, like, I'm playing these very arbitrary categories. Like, I've been playing a lot of like no barrier skip recently, which is about 3 hours now. Because I find that fun, because you're still doing all the skips, but because you're restricting the biggest sequence break, you're now applying all the new skips that we've found in the past 2 years and putting that into this 2-3-year-old category, and kind of getting a combination of before the game was broken, you have to play everything, but with all the broken mechanics we now know of.
Okay. Actually, now I want to, there was a thing I want to follow up on earlier here about that. When you're doing super swimming, manual super swimming, and when you're doing barrier skip, what is that like? Are you like because you bring up how very difficult and how narrow the possibility of successful execution is. Like, are you staring at your monitor at like a casual distance, or do you like zoom? Do you like lean in and you're looking really hardcore trying to find this angle? Like, what's going on there? Like, are we do we get like a gamer moment whenever you're going for those two things?
With the manual super swim nowadays, I basically to get it consistently, like the point is, I'm sure you noticed, do muscle memory. That's the most important part. You cannot get this trick if you're thinking of what you're doing, right? So I sit leaned back with the manual super swim, and also the timing is different. You have to keep a different rhythm on your thumb for up and down, and compared to the rhythm you have to pause on. So you have to keep two different rhythms. So if you're thinking about that, you're not gonna be able to keep a rhythm with your thumb and a rhythm with your other hand at the same time, right? So I literally just sit lean back. I have my gamepad on my lap, and I literally just move my hand with my middle finger pressed down, just keeping this rhythm like this, and just moving my thumb without thinking about it. But I just look at the game, barely read chat for that like minute and a half, 2 minutes. I just let muscle memory do its all things. Keep like the drummer or whatever. Uh, for the berry skip, yeah, definitely, it's a meme. Like Linkus forehead, because you have to watch for a pixel cutting off. You have to look for a pixel cutting off the TV. So I'm like every single time.
Oh my god. Is there okay, here's a question about that. Is there a certain criteria that helps you make barrier skip more consistent? Like, is there like can a TV be too small for you to be able to do it? Or like you know what I'm saying? Like, is there any kind of equipment barrier?
Definitely. That was a problem at TwitchCon, actually. I lost like 4 or 5 minutes on that because there are backup setups that you can use, but they're not precise. You're basically just aiming around where it is and hope you hit that value, right? You're not seeing like a setup, like looking at a pixel, for example, which is easier. So at TwitchCon, what ended up happening was the TV was cutting off a few pixels of the borders, right?
It was overscan. Oh no, that's
and
trash.
because of that, I failed it. So I had to go for this backup setup, which works, but it's not as consistent because, like I said, you're putting a red dot around the area where you need to aim at, but you don't have a consistent like this is the pixel you got to look for. So that lost me the most amount of time in that run. So like for every GDQ run, when I want to take it seriously, I'm always like, all right, make sure the TV is set so the entire game is visible. I cannot have any pixels cut off before any run like that.
Absolutely. Listen, I completely understand. I do the same thing every time I had to do Yoshi. I was like, hang on, wait, what TV am I using? I would immediately go to like level 6.5 or sorry, I would go to 6.4 and just see because it's the dark spooky cave level or dungeon section to make sure it's not too dark because I learned like in 2013 that not all CRTs are the same, and sometimes it was like I couldn't see shit. Like it was like it's a level where you have a little spotlight on Yoshi, and I couldn't see anything else. I couldn't see any of the rats or any of that. I'm like, why is this TV so dark, dude? Oh my god! So now I'm picky. I'm like, no, you need to give me a good TV. Get rid of that one. I don't like it. Give me another one. Whatever. I tell them, you have some runners here, and this is more of like we'll get to GDQ etiquette in a second here, but like. You have some runners who are okay with the couch. They want to be on the couch. To me, the iconic red couch, too comfortable. I don't like it. I can't focus. I'm distracted because I'm leaning so far back in. Like it's a gamer couch. I need an epic concentration. So I would opt to grab a chair where I can observe clean posture with a great back resistance so I can focus and maintain optimal everything. You know what I'm saying? So. I always, I'm sure it makes the couch annoyed because you have a chair blocking 3/4 of the view for anyone sitting in the center. But like, sorry, man, I gotta get this run, fam. So.
Oh yeah, it's the same for me. Like if I just give you like a quick example, like for Wind Waker, I literally have to ask them, can you give me a chair or a desk in front of it, right? Because when I'm playing with the Pro Controller, I need to swipe my items on my gamepad as I'm moving my controller, right? Like this. So I always ask, can I have a chair and a desk in front of it, or a second chair? Because I need to be like with my pinky
with
finger,
your pinky.
To equip items as I'm controlling Link, because I don't want to pause the game, right?
Right.
And since I'm not playing with the gamepad, I can't just swipe with my thumb. So I gotta have like two that's out. So this is how I stream all the time. I'm sitting like this, so I can use my pinky to swipe items so I can equip it, right? So I always have to ask for that for every GDQ run, but they're usually really cool about it though, so it's never been an issue.
No, that's dope. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, Galaxy Braid Linkus, y'all. All right. Well, okay. We're supposed to hour two get to mental. We're a little behind here, but this is a phenomenal episode. I want to thank you again for coming on. So now that we've covered all the game things I can possibly think of, now we can get into what makes what I love about Inside the Speedrunner, which is the mental, the mental. So let's go with first here, motivation fuel. Like, what do you find? Do you find the competition with gymnast? I'm assuming he was like your primary one because you name dropped him earlier here. Do you find that it was the competition that thrived you on the motivation, or what do you feel pushed you further beyond on any percent particularly?
It's really funny when you say that. And I'm sure because you've held the record multiple times for Yoshi, right? If I'm not incorrect.
Well, yeah, it's actually been a while now, but yeah,
no, but way back when you were speedrunning it.
Yeah.
When I first got the record, I was like, yes, I finally have it, and I felt like really bad, and I was like really like sad when I finally lost it. But what you realize after you kind of got past that initial like, okay, I just lost my first record, I worked so hard for this, is that competition is the number one driving force because like me and Gymnast were going back and forth, and then he ended up taking a break. I got a record and I held it for a few months, and I didn't want to play the category because after you get a record you optimize it once or twice. I'm kind of just like, the competition made it fun, and that's when you really appreciate like how important competition is. And that's why I have so much respect for CFG or anyone that just Stibbity Bobo for Banjo-Kazooie just pushing their own times, because that's like,
they're pushing it solo. You
really gotta have a passion for the game. The competition helps so much, and I'm so happy like that I had such a good competition with Gymnast. Like, even though like the viewers sometimes pick a side and you think we're rivals, I mean in DMs we were helping each other out. I was like, oh hey, I see we're struggling with this, by the way I figured out this cue here and there, and he would do the same thing when he found something. So we were like behind the scenes really good friends helping each other out, because the competition was, and that's what I always say, the golden age of Wind Waker was when we found a way to skip the fairy hover when the run was an hour long, because we had about a dozen more records traded in between 2 months, and that was the most fun I think the Wind Waker's ever been for me, when it was just this constant competition of back and forth. That was the most fun in my opinion. When it comes to motivating myself when I don't have competition, like 100%, I think I've held our record now for almost a year at this point with no one taking it. That was more to, honestly, it was just kind of like, I want to see how far I can get 100%, and more importantly, I want to optimize this and also work on the route by like talking to people that know routing, and I want to optimize the route for this. I want to see how far we can push this, and also hopefully make people like give this category a chance. That's why I was so happy it was in Winnipeg in GDQ recently, because most people wrote it off as at 6 hours. I can't watch that. It's just probably sailing, but it's just so much more, like I don't even have my sword yet on the video you're watching, and it's 30 minutes in. Like, I don't even get my sword until an hour in. It's just so broken. There's so many skips that I wanted to like both like show people how great it was, and also kind of, I guess, prove to myself that like how good can like and how short can this category be,
Yeah, no, though that's super dope. What I want to say about that motivation? You brought up a point, and what do I want to go with that here about that? You said competition let you thrive. You had admiration for those who are still thriving without competition. And you brought up the whole like the misconception that sometimes there's like a rivalry, and that like, these are my strats, this is for my world record. You can't, and people who are new to speedrunning get surprised, and they think it's like, they think of it kind of like, I guess like traditional esports, where it's like, it's you want a competitive advantage, so you're going to withhold information, especially if you have like a new strat or a new idea. You want to debut it mid-match and surprise your opponent, right? But with speedrunning, it's like, it's a whole different thing, because like, the competition, it's a blessing. The end goal, I would say, of speedrunning, sure, maybe get the run, but second to getting the run is having a thriving community to enjoy the game that has the same level of passion for that game that you do. I would think. Maybe streaming's a little bit of a bias for me, but like, I feel like most people who are speedrunning streamers definitely enjoy having a thriving community. I recall Mario Odyssey, the first 6 months. I mean, even still now, but like especially the first 6 months, man. Like, when you were seeing SMO climb up to have to be like what, third overall most active runners on Speedrunner.com.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was,
definitely.
dude. That was amazing. That was crazy. Yo, it was. You had no problem finding someone to race any category all day long. You know, it's plays. You know, it's a SMO community buffet. You know, eat until you pass out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think it also perfectly shows the difference of esports compared to speedrunning. Even though there's trying to be more of a competitive scene now in esports, in speedrunning, with esports, with the pace, I think is what the event is called.
Right.
I would definitely say that speedrunning is more community efforts compared to teams or individual goings head and head, like in esports, commonly. Because, like, I mean, if you look at SMO, I mean, I know you did a lot of work in this as well, Like, everyone sat down and tried to make their own routes, time it, and then you compared it to other people and said, okay, now, 10 dozen people, like 100 people have come together and made these routes. Which one is the best? And you're comparing each other. You're like, oh wow, you did something good there, and they try and put like an incomplete route together, with everyone's ideas. And I think that's a great example of like how much of a community effort a game is. Like no speedrun is done by one person. Every speedrun is like possible because of people coming together.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Definitely that. The more people you have playing the game, the more eyes you have on the problems that you're trying to solve, whether it be with the route. And on that note here, minor tangent, but there is nothing more satisfying than like, man, we're so close to skipping that entire island. If only we can just figure out a way to not need iron boots, hypothetically, right? Like, just if we could just skip that, it's flush. We're there, and then like I don't know. And then another person in the community, you can't figure it out. You know what you want, but you can't. You don't know how to achieve it. And then just some other person in the community is like, oh hey, by the way, I found this thing and it does this thing, and you're like, oh, yes, we can do it. Yeah, and then now the route's this, and I'm ready to grind it and get it. And it's that feeling is like,
Oh yeah,
so good, so good.
oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, like looking at SMO right now, you're talking about, like Nitro just got sub 1.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't such a community effort and how popular the game was when it came out, I think it's probably take another year or two before anyone even got close to like sub 1.
Yeah, I called that in advance. People were, I remember as far back as like December 2017, people were like, "Yo, sub 1." And I'm like, man, the gap between, because at the time I think it was we were around a 103, and I was like, man, you understand those 3 minutes are gonna be. Those are some expensive 3 minutes you're trying to take off right there, because the run had gone from like a 110 to 105 happened, pretty easily, but going from 105 to 103 took like over a month, and people were like, "Yo, one more month, we're gonna get sub 1." And I'm like, "You crazy? I'll take another year, I think minimum." And then I was pretty much on the money there, because about a year and a half afterward. Then now you got Chaos Pringle and I forget. I think it's like what? There's like 3 runners now who are under sub 1 at this point. If I recall correctly.
it was a race with 3 different people. You're right. I know Pringles and Nike. I don't remember the third.
Their guy. It's a Japanese runner, but I forget his name.
Okay.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it was literally the same with Wind Waker. Like the record was a 101 for a long time, and then I even had like an hour 38-second time. It took me months to get sub 1. People were like, "Dude, it's just 40 seconds." But like when you're getting down to the nitty gritty, 40 seconds is a lot.
I'm sorry, correction here.
Sure.
People are right. I'm sorry. Lil Curbs has blown me away. You're right. Lil Curbs is the other one. It's actually 4 runners, and the Japanese guy is Goryuya. Yeah, Lil Curbs is a beast. Lil Curbs is.
I did not know
Lil
that.
Curbs is good all around. Lil Curbs is like he's a beast at Mario Maker. He's a beast at SMO. That man's savage. Y'all definitely go check him out. Big shout out to Lil Curbs if he's in chat right now. Now on that note, the next thing here. Kind of a lighter question here, but your perspective on speedrunning versus casual gaming or non-speedrunning. Kind of what I want to get at here is like, do you find that you speedrun games that you enjoy casually, or do you find that you look at a speed game and you compute it as a speed game only, and you don't look in your casual pool of gameplay for what the speedrun?
I think it depends on the speedrun personally. Like I could never play, Wind Waker ever again. But I think it depends on also what I like about a game. A perfect example would be Paper Mario. I actually started to learn that speedrun, and I quit because for that game, it's the music, it's the nostalgia, it's the mood, it's the atmosphere that makes me love that game. I know that I would lose that if I started to speedrun it. So I chose to quit learning it, even though it was like literally in the last chapter. Because like if I speedrun this, I will never be able to play this game the same way, and I don't want to lose this magical feeling I have about this game. So I've actually chosen not to speedrun the game because of that reasoning. Wind Waker was very different for me. I've beaten that game so many times, and that's also like something that a lot of like on YouTube, especially when like the algorithm pushes out a video to people that are not in the speedrunning scene. People always ask me like, why do you cheat? Why don't you just enjoy the game like it's supposed to be played? Like I can't tell you how many
Oh my
times I read
god.
that question. And I literally like I always say this that Wind Waker for me, the only reason I still enjoy it is speedrunning because I had beaten that game almost a dozen times. I remembered by heart where every single thing was that I had zero fun playing that game anymore because I enjoyed it so much casually. I knew where everything was. There was no fun in it. Speedrunning gave me new life. The glitches added a new perspective and a new way to play the game, right? Same with randomizers. I think why that's so popular is because it brings a new way to play video games, right? So I don't think at all like that speedrunning ruins. In fact, I think for many cases it brings more enjoyment in the games you love.
I love it. I love it. The way I like to phrase that is I look at speedrunning, at least for me, it's a love letter to the game. If I don't love the game, like I'm taking the act of repetitively playing through the game again in an attempt to relive my first experience or my peak nirvana of experiencing the game. I'm trying to find that again through speedrunning. It's the best way I know how to do it. So I play through it again, but now I'm playing through it again with purpose and function, and I produce
Yeah.
something cool out of it at the same time. So I look at it like a love letter to the game itself. Others may can word it differently, but I like to view it as that. But on that note, you just said something I wanted to ask you further about. Crap, I'm so bad at remembering what I was going to. I've dropped what I was going to say like literally 20 seconds into it. It requires too much of my brain power right now. Um, Shucks. Oh, maybe it'll come back to me. We'll just move on from here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Uh, so the next thing here now is this is the big one, the whole thing that I don't want to say I was most intrigued to get you on for, but it's definitely the one where I was most excited to talk about it because I feel it's a topic that's not touched on often. I feel at least from a mental perspective, like just a very
Hmm.
shallow face value one, which is fighting burnout or fatigue as a speedrunner. So if you want to hear, feel free. I would love to hear you explain your situation you had whenever you had the Twitter video about burnout and you were like, I need a break and I'm running on fumes right now. If you want to talk about it,
Sure.
I'd love to hear about it.
I'm completely fine. Do you want to just go into the speedrunner aspect, or also like the content creator, like full time streamer aspect
No,
as well?
it's all integrated because you're content creating. What I would say now is probably the majority of speedrun content. So it's all intertwined here. Yeah, feel free to
Sure. All right.
go into
I
it.
mean, so the first thing that kind of built up is, and I think it all combines is like when you're starting to feel like when you're playing something constantly, and specifically in Wind Waker, what happened was my favorite category, Wind Waker 100%, which is also my most popular, viewer wise category. It was getting so optimized that the luck elements 30 minutes in and an hour in, it just kind of made me so that I played 30 minutes reset, 30 minutes reset, and I even had this video that I uploaded to YouTube where like literally I spent so long on one of the mini games, it was like a 0.5% chance of happening because like I was just for weeks on end not getting around going purely because of these two luck elements, and
Wait,
just
wait, wait, wait,
adding
whoa,
that
whoa,
like
whoa. Come on, come on. There was a point where for weeks you couldn't get a run past the 1 hour mark.
2 weeks in a row I had two runs past the 1 hour mark, and I played it
Oh,
every day for full time.
holy
So
shit! Oh my. Okay, sorry.
and
Continue.
obviously that's like an extreme case, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not common, but still it just shows how the luck can play a part. So not getting past that, it was just adding on top of it. And I think another big part that is scary, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, is it's so difficult to talk about burnout because I think that if you'd say on like let's say that I say on Twitter I'm burnt out of streaming, you kind of get slapped with this, oh wow, you're in the stream positioning, you're making money playing video games for a living. I'm out here working a 9 to 5 job. You have no rights to complain. Your opinion is not valid. You should be happy about your positioning. You're unthankful for saying that you're burnt out or you don't want to do this when you have this opportunity. that not many people can get, right? That's like a very common thing, unfortunately, that many people have the assumption of, and they don't see that it's so much more than playing a video game. It's so different if you're sitting and playing a video game, chill on the couch for 5 hours compared to talking to a chat constantly. You're trying to perform, like at the top of your game. You're super focused. You're speed running, and you got to focus on all these things. And you're scared of the backlash, and like since you're full time streaming, you don't know where it's gonna go, like your finance situation, your viewer base. It's just like that pressure on top of feeling that I'm burnt out, it motivates you, unfortunately. And I think this happens with a lot of streamers, YouTubers, not just speedrunners, that it's the systems motivate you to push through burnouts. The unfortunate part is that's going to make it worse, and it's going to also probably extend how long you're going to be burnt out. So that's why after about a month I was like, this is not who I want to be. I don't want to be fake, because I've always said do what you love to do, and I'm not doing that right now. So I just made a Twitter and I was like, hey, I'm gonna take a break from this. I'm gonna focus on things that make me happy. I cannot stand playing this thing anymore, because the purpose I'm doing it is not for the right reason. Because I'm not doing it because I'm having fun.
Absolutely. So two things there, but one, you're absolutely right. It's a stigma, because obviously, we're content creators, we're broadcasters, we're streamers, it's a very privileged state to be in. Most who see what we do, in a broad sense here, are like, well, you make money playing video games, but often it's like, it's much more than that. I have to make compelling content that you have to optionally want to opt in to watch. So it's like, it's much more than just go live and do it. Honestly, I would say that any broadcaster worth their weight is going to tell you that, like, legitimately, you're going to put in as much work offline as you do online. Like, making the content, strategize what you're going to do in advance, committing to the schedule, getting things lined up in advance, stuff like that, to a certain extent. For speedrunning, I would say there's, like, a certain component of, like, I mean, I don't know if you do, like, all your routing online. I feel there's
routing and practice I do offline.
Yeah, right, yeah. And if you quantified how much of that practice was offline, it might not be 1-1 to how often you're broadcasting, but I mean, there certainly is that I would call that's the equivalent of a YouTuber, putting in. They may only make 4 videos that week, but they're probably working 6 days of the week, just like shooting the video, and then they're spending hours in Premiere Pro editing it, and there's all this unsung labor going in that you don't hear about offline. And I think the same thing for speedrunners, especially.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, if you watch a broadcaster with 30 hours, I can guarantee you probably spend 50 hours, like all combined, just that.
Yeah. So you're right. There is a stigma with that. That's more misinformation than I feel like a legitimate thing. I feel like if people knew the whole picture, they would be like, okay, I get it, or whatever. It's just, again, because streaming's a new profession. This wasn't really a viable thing mainstream until like 2010, 2011. So it's a new occupation. So it has a stigma to it about like the legitimacy and the viability of the whole thing, which is fine. You gotta. Haters are gonna hate, and misinformation's all around anywhere. So it's like you just gotta be the one who's gonna be patient and insightful on like how it actually is. Because honestly, X person who thinks that I'm being ungrateful for admitting and trying to be transparent about how I actually feel, you don't do what I do. And even if you do streaming at a full-time level is a very different thing, especially mentally, than part-time or even recreationally, right? But
yeah, it's different if you're doing something when you want to instead of I have to. It becomes a job, not a hobby.
Yeah, when you have to, especially for us streamers, because month to month, not guaranteed. There's a great saying I like here by Soda Poppin', who says that as a Twitch streamer, you're only as good as your last 2 streams. I think that's a very accurate way to put it here. Like if you take a 4-day break, man, 4 days in internet time feels like a fucking year. IRL, like so much shit can happen in 4 days, dude. Like, you take 4 days off, you better have planned some kind of kick ass comeback stream or whatever, or you better have something going on, because oh boy, where you at? Them subs gonna plummet. The subs, the metrics, the confidence, you're not making content to even have on your YouTube or whatever. You go radio south for 4 days. It's like, well, where you at? Where did Dad go? I came and Dad never came back from getting cigarettes or whatever. But I think there's definitely a stigma there, but it's a misinformation you have to like combat. Just be patient with dealing with it. And 2 is that, oh what was I gonna say about it too? The burnout. It people can be ungrateful about it, but like ultimately, it's like you have to. There's a mental health component to it. I had a better way to phrase it, but I kind of lost now, so I had to explain my first part here. I'm sorry about that. I'm pretty bad at that. I explained part one, and I forget how to word part two. But you have to the mental health, man. If you internalize, because this is what I used to do. I used to clearly I was burnt out on Yoshi's Island. I was burnt out long into 2013, still pushing in, as far as I could every single day. I was burnt out. I was tempted to my self-worth being how good I was at the game, which is a terrible, terrible thing to be in the first place. Terrible predicament. And I would just internalize everything. I wouldn't tell anyone about how burnt out I was. I felt because I honestly felt it was embarrassing. I felt like I should just be like Singlimic and be able to do 12 hours every day because he did it. And I was like, wow, it's a machine. Like other runners are doing it. It's kind of like becoming normalized now. Just grind, and eventually things will happen. Like, I was kind of scared to question that, but I didn't look into the mental game of the whole thing, And for some people, grinding to oblivion works because for some people they thrive under the grind. But then as I try to break it all down here, I realized honestly, the grind is not really what I thrive for. It's the discoverability and the routing. It's the other two phases, in my opinion, of the whole process that really keep me motivated and keep things fresh and awesome for me. So just the whole pushing through burnout. You gotta I had to slow down, just evaluate what am I doing this for? What do I want out of this? And ultimately, if you don't address it head on by figuring out how to take a break or back up or slow down, what I find first is that you're gonna dread going live. It's gonna be harder and harder to hit the go live button. You're gonna think of more things you could be doing instead or before you go live. At least my experience. You keep moving the goalpost over the minimum criteria to go live today. You're not hyped to go live. You're dreading kind of going live. 1, 2, rather than oh man, I only have 8 hours, so I can only do 2 hours of practice, and then I can probably do 1-6 run. Instead, when you're on burnout mode, you're thinking okay, I only have 8 hours. You're thinking, okay, I have to fill 8 hours. What's the minimum I can do to be? I'm fighting the clock here. I'm not fighting my desires or my wills. I'm fighting a clock to just clock in, get 8 hours. Clock out and then refuel because I'm getting exhausted even being live right now. That to me is what changes as well whenever you're on burnout. And then if you still keep internalizing it, what happens next is the streams get shorter because you get drained to 0% battery. Metaphorically speaking here, quicker. Yeah. So the streams get shorter, and then it just continues. It gets harder to go live. It gets harder to stay on longer. You just keep. Until you're at a breaking point, and then you have to acknowledge it. But I'm really happy you did it. You acknowledged it, and you were transparent about it. And I feel like whenever you are being transparent about something that you're sincere with, people are gonna flip. Your community. How did they react to whenever you said I'm burnt out and I need to reevaluate what I'm doing right now?
Oh yeah. I sat down. I had half an hour talk on stream, and I had a decent amount of viewers. So a lot of people could see it, and I was listen, after GDQ, I wanted to capitalize on the hype. I was working 75 hours a week for 7 weeks in a row because I wanted to do full-time YouTube and full-time streaming. I wanted to get this record reaction video out. It took so much time, and even when the 7 weeks were done, and I capped it down to 50 hours a week because then I just did streaming. If you're working 75 hours a week, you're not giving yourself a break, but you switch down to 50. You're still burned out, right? You still need a break. So I was just like that combined with not enjoying the speed run, it just became too much. And I also when I came back down from TwitchCon, I literally said that I was scared taking 4 days off, but these were the best 4 days I ever spent because I'm excited to stream right now. Because just having a few days off instead of just 1 day, weekend, because a lot of us work, 5 or 6 or even 7 days a week, having 4 days off of just spending time with friends, not even worrying a single bit about streaming, is coming back. It just brought so much motivation back, and I'm completely transparent every stream about how I feel, and it's felt so much nicer because when you're super honest, you're not hiding anything. Most people are actually my experience was I was scared of a backlash, but it was the opposite. people were accepting and even like more supportive of the fact that you were being honest and transparent about it.
Now you know why I think that is. Okay, so the obvious reason is that people just like transparency and you just being an honest person. But I also feel it's because like oftentimes speedrunners are not. I feel like they're not humanized enough in ways. Like we execute so precisely at such a higher level than the average gamer. To the average gamer that it's just like he's inhuman. He's got to be like, I don't know, half Korean, half Japanese. He's just a god gamer. They can't relate. You have like that Superman, that god mode syndrome to them, perhaps. And whenever you reveal that, I bleed. I'm vulnerable. I have emotions. I get tilted. I feel things. It's like, oh, he is human. Wow. And a moment of bonding happens between you and the audience to a certain extent, I would say. That's what I think. That's what I have to think happens, and that kind of keeps me encouraged to just always be transparent. So.
Oh yeah, and I think it's also why like it's so easy for like people to shit talk online compared to IRL because like you're forgetting that there's a person behind there. I mean, obviously as a streamer, like it literally just it doesn't even bother me anymore if someone comes in and says something dumb. Like I've seen it all. Like you can't even say something original that's an insult anymore. So it kind of just goes back. But I think the person saying that doesn't realize, like they wouldn't do that face to face with someone,
Yeah, but also too now though, I will admit if I don't like a game or if I'm fatigued or burned out on it, just because like I now have the history of like when I would internalize everything and what that would do. Like I described to you, break down verbatim here. My streams got shorter. I would go live later in the day because I was struggling to get to the minimal threshold of mental fucks to even like to go live. Like I'd have to like, dude, at the darkest point of the whole thing, man, there were times where I have to like, I'm like, man, I'm dreading going live right now. I feel like I'm trapped. Like if I go live, runs are gonna crash. I'm gonna get salty. It's gonna be awkward as shit. I don't know how to, and then I have to pretend that I'm not mega tilted. And then when I pretend I'm not tilted, rather than being just like externally tilted, chat's like, why is he so awkward and cringy and why does he play a game he doesn't even like, bro? And just all those like misinformed, misaligned questions, and you're just like, you have to pretend to not be tilted off of that while you're pretending to be tilted from the game, and it's just like it's just draining your battery so fucking hard that I would have to go for walks. There were points in 2014 that I'm sorry, it was 2013 was my worst year. 2013 where I would just genuinely have to like I would go walk. I'd go outside and just go jog somewhere, and I had like no endpoint and no particular time. I would just go until I felt good enough to go live and stream, which kind of scared me.
Oh yeah.
Like I had to like do like rituals to just increasingly meet some arbitrary quota to even have the fucks to give to go live that day, which is scary.
And I would say it's very nice to actually say that because that's exactly how it was for me. And if you watched the Twitter video, I'm sure, like I even said that you can notice on my stream days, my stream hours, like all of that, it's exactly the same. It's literally just like, 6 p.m. rolls around, you're about to go live, that's at least when I usually go, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to stream. 7 comes around, 8. Okay, now I have to, because otherwise, like, I didn't stream at all. You stream for 3-4 hours, like, okay, I did it. And then during the run, you're faking, like trying to be a positive, you're not. And then people are like, why is he quiet? This Link is tired. Like, why is he not talking to the chat as much? And, like people notice, and you're trying to just hold that in,
Dude, the third person questions, they get you so good, dude. Why is the streamer so quiet? Why is this guy X? Why is this guy, like, they never ask you, they ask chat. Because you don't come off as accessible, right? So you already, it's like, oh my god. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm making maybe too much about streaming at this point. But okay, so you told me about the fatigue and the burnout, and do you feel that you've cracked it now, or that you have a better understanding of how to avoid being back in that pit again?
Definitely, I would say the number one thing I did was I was like, okay, not gonna play this for a bit. I'm not gonna play this category at all. And then the number one thing I'm trying to do right now is just kind of mixing it up. So like I try to get back into Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, and Wind Waker, and mixing up the content so people that still want to watch Wind Waker still get it, but it's just different categories. So it's refreshing enough to be fun. And I'm not playing it, every day, 7 days a week. So, playing, a different category for, 8 to 10 hours, here and there, that's still fun for me. I'm not feeling burnt out. And then playing other things, it makes you appreciate the game you're not playing even more. So it teaches you that to appreciate what you have instead of focusing on the worst of the run.
You know what? By the way, feel free to take this pro tip if you'd like to or not. I find what works great for me is to open with what my core community enjoys. Like, if for you, it probably would be Wind Waker. Open with Wind Waker, and then when you're done with that, dude, after party. Go into whatever thing you really want to do. Draw them in with the lore, and then win them over with the thing you want to do. Get these Wind Waker directory viewers and convert them into Linkus fanboys. That's the strats right there. I'm telling you. Now, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, obviously, but this is just like, I find it's a winning thing for me, and I feel like most streamers probably do something along similar. You open with your big draw, and then you close out with whatever new thing you want to try out or thing you really want to do. So.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely done that in the past, and like, I mean, like, if you're not too burned out, that works great, you know? Like, trying to do that if you're burned out is obviously difficult because your mood is already going to be ruined. But definitely, I've seen so many people do that, and I've done it myself. I definitely think, like, that's a very good advice. Definitely, it's definitely a good strat. And also, like, I get it too. If I see a video or a stream and it's zero interest, I probably won't click on it. But if I'm watching someone already and they're switching over and it's maybe interesting, I'll stick around, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is really fun. Gonna keep watching, you know? So definitely, like, it definitely works.
All right. Well, damn, that was the big chunky one there. Now I got some fun ones for you here. Tell me a bit more about your favorite phase of speedrunning. Then again, you can feel free to word this however you want here, but like I brought to you earlier what I would define the three phases of speedrunning as, like, mechanics, discovery, and glitch hunting, which then feed into routing, which then concludes with execution grind for the run, right? If we can agree on that, like, structure, I guess, like a cycle.
Definitely.
What do you? Because I've interviewed some runners here who to my surprise, thrive under the grind. Like, to them, discovery and the glitch hunting is like whatever. Like, they're really into just like going for the run and getting the run. Others, like myself, I'm much more about discovery and assembling the puzzle pieces together with the routing, and then that's kind of what fuels me to go into phase 3 with the execution for the grind. What about you? What do you find yourself glitch hunting frequently? Do you find yourself thriving under routing for weeks at a time, or are you a grinder yourself?
I am very much one of a kind with that. So if there's a lead, I'll glitch hunt. But otherwise, what I'll do with speedruns is I hate learning, I hate practicing, I hate testing. So what I do is I take up a video of a game I want to learn, a PB or something. I just follow along, and anytime I get to a point where it's such a complicated glitch I can't understand it by just watching it, I just take up a tutorial for it, and I basically follow along the run for like in one go. And then I immediately do my first run. No practice whatsoever. I just go through the run one time, just do my first run, and at that point I'm kind of just learning how everything works. Then after that run, I then do my kind of practice where I'm like, okay, what parts did I fail? Okay, let's not study how to do it. Let's study why it failed, because that's very important, because then you know backups and you know what to change if you're failing it in the future. And then after that, I just start doing runs and runs and runs. And that's how I like to do it personally. So I think doing runs is the most fun part for me.
And I do a similar thing. Some people will hop on a new game and immediately want to watch world record and just like and they're happy with like reading the paste bin on or whatever, the big text dump on how to do every trick in the game, and just go for that. You know, I'm gonna try to swallow this like, you know, watermelon sized amount of information and just like try to and just it's like stuck in the throat. You're trying to get it down. And it's like, I'm like, okay, well, if you want to do that, and some people do that. Hey, that's you. That's definitely not me. I, similar to you, probably go for kind of a similar thing. I try to for Mario Odyssey, for example, there was a community route because everyone was just like, a lot of them were just no life in the game right away. But I didn't want to be robbed of my casual experience of because, you know, we get a new 3D Mario like once every decade, roughly, you know, give or take, right? So I was like, look, y'all, if y'all want to lose your if you want to like piss away your casual playthrough to the speed run on hour 12 of the game being out, cool. I'll see y'all. Sorry, one Sorry, 1 second.
That is fine. Go get some Frank or Z in the chat. Thank you guys for the Frank or Z's.
Yeah. So okay, what was it going on here again? Oh yeah, right. Yeah. So for Mario Odyssey, I didn't want to read the community route. I didn't care. I wanted to do the game myself. I wanted to route the game myself and do my own like shitty trash route that I knew wasn't gonna be great, but it was gonna allow me to remember things better. That's probably my biggest obstacle is when it comes to like just acquiring the memorization. I don't know if you have a trick for like how you remember everything, but for me, I just gotta like hop in, get a little hands on, and just like try it myself. And then when I fail to remember in the run, that's what cements for me through failure to remember what to not do, and then and then that kind of bookmarks me what I need to remember. You know?
Yeah, I do the school book, like what they teach you in like early like middle school. I will like follow the run, and then what I'll do is I'll have a text note, like I have like a notepad up. I will write down the entire route by myself, even if there is already one out there, because that also means that like I can have these random notes. I remember like when I picked up Wind Waker, I didn't know what a name was, so I said Old Man, right? Because if I'm watching a run, I'm not gonna be like, oh no, who's that, you know? So and you know, even for me, you know, someone might like read my notes and be like, go right, now follow normal, then go left. For me, that makes sense because normal is like, oh, that part is casual, but then when I don't know, it's going to be left. So for me, those notes work perfectly because I'm typing it entirely out and I'm saying it out loud. You're hearing it and all those things that tell you in school that you don't want to listen to. It definitely helped me a lot. So every time I write my entire own route and I use terms that only I will know because it will help me, and because it's shortened, then you can even read it in a run.
Yeah, no, it's a actually, you know what's funny about that? What you're saying is also what I would do. I write my own route in my own like notepad paste bin thing. I had a teacher that told me whenever like if you try to just like copy what the teacher writes when you're, you know, quote unquote, when you're making notes, right? You just copy what the teacher is saying verbatim. You're not going to retain it as well because you're a stenographer, right? You're just jotting down what they're saying, and it's not going through your like literary center of your brain for like critical consumption. But whenever you take someone's what they're saying or what they're doing and you're translating it into your own personal notes, you're then computing what they did or what they're saying, what it means, and then your own interpretation of that. So you're going through like, you know, I don't know, whatever, like 3 times the amount of data computation to output your notes. So you're likelier to one, you're forced to explain what you saw, so you have to test yourself if you understand what you saw in the first place, and then 2, you're making it for your own notes, so you're able to retain the memory of what you're saying better, so you can get off of the notes dependency. So it's just a win-win all around when you make your own notes. It's the thing you don't have to, but I think it's a really great way to speed up and expedite the memorization process for learning these games. It's a big 5-head strat.
Definitely. And also like splits. Splits is a good.
Oh yeah.
Well.
Oh yeah. You know, when I was learning Darker Side for Mario Odyssey, you know, that's 500 moons. I would straight up. My splits would tell me where to go. I didn't even like. I would use my splits as like a training wheels tool to just like to further, because it was so much to remember, dude. It was like.
Oh yeah. And SMO, you don't have time to read notes.
And you're right. You don't have any downtime. Like seriously, it's crazy. So yeah, you had to I had to figure out something, and I'm like, I can't read even the notes extension for live split. It wasn't fast enough. I needed something quicker. I needed like quicker than even that. So yeah, splits are what helped me get that going there. Also, I would have probably been, by doing that, I was doing a run within a week. But if I hadn't used splits as notes, quote unquote, it might have been, you know, maybe 3 weeks till I can really do a run comfortably, to be honest. So
yeah,
you know. Pro tip, boys. Big brains here. Yeah, correct. I had 500 plus splits on my Darker Side runs, and I found it worked pretty well. Well, one for each moon. I had to, you know, because you have to remember like where to go and what to do, like because not only that, but then like, you know, I've learned any percent, and then for Darker Side, you're doing a whole different thing. You have to like negate, and it's tough, right? You have to like negate what you do in any percent to remember what you need to do in Darker Side, which is a whole different thing. So it's like,
how do you split? Like, out of curiosity, how do you actually split?
oh, so I use a USB foot pedal, to split.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still use the old, W split. I'm sure you, uh, yeah. Anyway, Shad, yeah, I use the space bar, so I need to take my hands off of my, my controller to actually press the space bar. So for me, it's definitely like not something that would work.
But yeah, I have a yeah, it's a three pedal USB foot pedal,
Oh,
and
wow.
you can just hotkey it to whatever you want, space bar, num keys, whatever. And I find that that works great. So I have like one for split, one for reset, one for pause. But do what works for you. You can make one undo split. You could make one toggle push talk
Hmm.
microphone or whatever. But yeah, I find that honestly, one, I would tell you to consider that because it's a great investment. If you're using if you're still using keyboard, if you're used to keyboard and you like it, cool. But if you want to like gain a third hand that you didn't know you had, there you
Yeah.
go.
No,
So
that's definitely an investment to do. I mean, the W splits layout. Remember that one with spacebar, P for pause, R for reset. I still use that.
oh man, not even. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I know. Actually, no. Who turned me on to that was Singlimic. Singlimic was the one who he bragged about ordering this from like some Japanese site. This very one I have here, this little triple model
Hmm.
foot pedal. He bragged about it on stream one day in like 2012, and I was like, dude, that is so smart. Holy shit! And then I did that, and then when I had it, I'm like, well, now that I have this, I could theoretically just go split crazy if I wanted to, and that led to me trying out per level splits or just going split bonanza and having more data, and I thought it was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. It's not for everyone. Sometimes having too many splits will just kind of like you'll see like a time loss that won't even be a big deal, and you'll overthink where the area you're
Oh
losing
yeah.
time on or whatever. But you have the option at least with that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I like to keep an average of about 7 minutes per split for long speed runs. But for short ones, obviously, I mean like Super Mario Sunshine, I kept one for each shine to help me out.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, the next thing now. So that was my my mental segment for you. The My second to last segment would be it's some fun stuff actually. It's really here. Your opinion on things. So I got some things for you here. These are kind of rapid. So first thing first is your favorite part of playing Wind Waker, not speedrunning it, but playing. Like what's your favorite part of the game? If because I'd love to ask people, speedrunners, like your favorite part when you were playing versus your favorite part when you're speedrunning. So that's kind of what I'm gonna get at here with the follow up questions. So when
I don't
you
know if this is a too easy of an answer, but I would say atmosphere, graphics, 100%.
really okay,
Because just I don't know, like for me, like an easy example with this, like you said you hadn't played too many Zelda games, but like in general, like have you played Dark Souls
mm-hmm.
or like anything similar to that? Like I literally hate those games just because the atmosphere is too dark. I don't like watching Game of Thrones because I don't like the medieval times because it's so dark. For me, having gloomy, bright graphics makes such a big difference for me mood wise. So for me, hands down, it's all about atmosphere and mood and graphics. Doesn't
I
have to be perfect, 4K, but
no, I
atmosphere
understand.
is key.
I'm very much drawn to the appeal of Wind Waker, Okami. I think what else here, like anything that's like you said, like whether it be like Jet Set Radio, another one here. Anything cell shaded, colorful palettes, bright, fun colors. I'm definitely into. Does that mean that you found like Twilight Princess to be less enjoyable just because it was like a darker, like grittier Zelda to you, or
Yeah, I didn't beat Twilight Princess Note this year actually because stream kept bothering me about it almost. I would say like when I got to later in the run, it was more fun because you without spoilers, the dungeons are not as areas and dungeons they're not as dark. Like deserts, snow areas. If that makes sense. So the end game areas were better, but because I basically started playing the game, the atmosphere is really dark. I get to the first sections of the game, they're all dark. First, second dungeon, meh. I just gave up on it every time. Same with the Link to the Past. The only reason I beat that game was because I kept spending extra time to walk in the light world instead of the dark world, even though all end game stuff is in dark world, because I didn't want to spend too much time watching a dark game.
oh, interesting actually. I actually am gonna love talking to you about Skyward Sword towards the end of this year, actually, because it's a hot button, but I can. I'm attacking. We're gonna come back to it because me and you we got a moment right here. We're gonna make some Skyward Sword fans mad, but I don't care.
Yes.
All right. So next question is least favorite part of playing Wind Waker HD, if anything.
Casually or speedrunning?
This is casually, and then we'll get to
Casually. Okay, for the original Wind Waker, hands down, Triforce collecting. I would say in HD, there was not a single point that stood out to me as too bad on HD, because Swift Sail, you don't have to do as much in endgame. They shortened it so much. Original version, hands down, I so many times played up until like the last dungeon, and then I stopped because I didn't want to spend just going around to every ocean and island finding those Triforce pieces.
Also, okay, I remember a point we didn't follow up on way forever ago that I remember now. I want to ask you, is it true that in Wind Waker HD you can skip cutscenes now, right?
You can skip the intro. You cannot skip cutscenes, but they are times 4 faster with the text.
Oh.
So they're a fourth of the length with cutscenes, and the intro you can skip.
Do you find now I remember, here's the question I was gonna ask you forever ago. Do you find quality of life to be a component of speed games that is important for you to consider picking them up? Like, for example, here, like, clearly, like, I feel like you kind of started your 3D Zelda speedrun career with Wind Waker, so it's kind of like has that early bird privilege of just like, this is setting the standard of what you're willing to tolerate with like a 5-minute opening cutscene and this and that when you're playing Wind Waker on GameCube. But like, do you find that now games need to have like a speedrun quality of life for you in order to consider them? Like, would you ever play another game if it had like would you ever speedrun a game if it had like a 5-minute unskippable cutscene, or if it had like all the annoying things that make speedrunning a game kind of like annoying to do in your opinion?
I mean, it's quite easy for me to answer because, like I said earlier, I know a speedrun category for every 3D Zelda game but Skyward Sword, and Majora's Mask is a perfect point of what you just said. I like the game, I like the tricks and glitches, however, it takes 20 minutes to get out of the first section of the run. It's called First Cycle, it's notorious for speedrunners, it's horrible, nothing fun, and there's still some stuff that you could lose enough time to, and you can get too bad RNG to not get the rupees. You have to redo the 20 minutes, and some of the hardest tricks is right after the 20-minute mark, and it's a get it first try, or you have to reset because your bomb count or your shoe count or your rupee count is too low. So because of that, it's just 20 minutes over and over again. There's just text cutscenes, walking around, and RNG. That's all you have for the 20 minutes. That fun to play a little bit after about a month of trying to speedrun it? Hell no.
Ew, heard that. Okay. And then now to continue from the rapid fire stuff here. Favorite part of speedrunning Wind Waker HD? And that can be interpreted however you want to. Whatever comes to mind, like whatever's in your gut. Favorite part?
Item sliding, because it gives you the rare exception for Zelda games where you get the Mario-like aspect of movement at the same time as you have glitches for skips, which is what Zelda is loved for.
Sorry, continuing.
No, that's fine. Did you hear that, or do you want me to repeat
that? You were saying that the item sliding, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, item sliding, because it adds a perspective to where you have the movement aspect of Mario, where, because you can do it so often, like, it's just take out an item, right? It doesn't require bombs, limited, there's a limited amount of use, right? And it takes only like a quarter of a second to do. That means that it came down to this, oh wow, this section has a 1 second improvement if I add an item slide here and there, and add a movement and skips. So combining movement like Zelda and Mario together just perfectly made a perfect speedrun for me.
That reminds me of it. I didn't know if there was really a term for it here or not, but I like to call it just speedrunner greed. Like if there's a section that already is a trick that you're doing it in an unintended way, but if I add this other speedrun tech that I know movement wise in it, so I'm doing like an unintended skip, and I'm supplying it with movement tech. I'm just like I want all the time gain. I want the greed, man. I want to be able to like just add in more and more and more, and just like yeah. It's like a rush, dude. So I don't know if it's like a term for it, but yeah, that satisfying payoff of just going for full greed on anything, whenever you're good enough at all your tricks. Oh, it's the best.
Definitely.
Now, on that, the counterpoint here, what is your least favorite part of speedrunning Wind Waker HD? What's the most annoying thing for you? I know you just said that what was it, Triforce gathering late game was annoying for you, right? Was it Triforce or?
Well, yeah, on the original game, on the HD version, it's not bad. And with speedrunning, because routing is so important, as you can imagine with your speedruns, it makes that section like so short. The worst part, in my opinion, and not considering the RNG of 100%, because it's only in that category, I would actually just have to say manual super swim, because even though
Mm.
you're consistent at it, if you fail it once or twice, your hands get more tired, which means it's harder to keep the rhythm, and you're both thinking about it. And you can be in this, like, sometimes it's rare, but sometimes again, this mental block where you spend 2 hours to get it once, because you get that mental barrier. And also, just like, if you're doing a lot of runs during a day, the last thing I'm going to do is just sit down and go through that again. So
Yeah, no, yeah, you're not kidding, dude. Super swim, manual super swim does not look fun. I'm sure it's 10 times worse on your hands. Oh my god, I didn't even know. I already hated it. Just like in terms of like what I enjoyed. It's like I hated watching you do it. I didn't even know it was frame perfect. I'm just like, oh my god, dude,
yeah,
dude.
but
You have
I
to
will say,
you have to like achieve flow state. Like you have to like it's like you're playing like a DDR or a rhythm game. You have to deliberately keep your mind blank and unoccupied so that you can occupy it subconsciously with the rhythm you have to achieve. Ugh,
yeah.
not
The
easy.
worst part about it, though, is if you ask me, would you rather have it in the run or out of the run? I would say in the run, because that's the tough part. Is the trick sucks, but it makes the entire speedrun for every category 1,000 times better.
The
Because you
necessary
skip
evil.
you skip some flags in the game, which means you can actually sequence break early game, which is not possible without it. So not only does it save time, it makes the run more fun and out of order, gives you more options for routing, different routes, but you're getting a shitty trick in return.
Yes. So that what you said right there kind of implies that linear speed games are not really your jam. You like them when you can like do your own thing, or you have the option with your tool
Yeah.
set of speed tech to like make it
Mm-hmm.
minimally linear, which is kind
Well,
of
I think
funny. Oh, go ahead.
no. Sorry, yeah, finish your sentence.
Which is why probably you may dislike Skyward Sword. Is what I was gonna say. from what I've,
Very part, yes, very part, yes, for sure. But I think it's also I'm thinking of like long time perspective speedrunner as full time as well, because if you have a possibility to sequence break, it will give you more variety for each individual category. Because before manual super swimming, the first 50 minutes were the exact same for every single category. 50 minutes, all the same. When you have something else, it means that if I'm playing any percent, all dungeons, 100%, any other skill category, they all are different from the start when you get the grappling hook 20 minutes in, because there are so many options. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yep. No, I completely agree with you. Now, here's the big one for you, and then we move on to the final section of the thing today, which is So I've heard a lot about Wind Waker. I've heard a little bit about what you don't like with Skyward Sword, a little bit. But what's your favorite game? And I'd love to know if it is different than Wind Waker HD, which is your primary speed game. Why is your favorite game and your most active speed game? Why do you feel that's different for you? Like, what do you get out of both those games separately?
I know this is still a Zelda title, but I will have to say it's Breath of the Wild.
Ooh.
I think it was a mix of I hate, and I said this on stream, I hate open worlds. I don't want open worlds. Zelda Breath of the Wild forced me to try it out, and here's why I'm getting to that. It's my favorite. I would even say it's my favorite game casually over Wind Waker even. And there's one reason I'd say that, and that is because if you play Wind Waker or any other game, you're getting about 20 to 50 hours in, and that's about it, right? Maybe you can replay it once. Breath of the Wild, when I got past the initial 5 to 10 hours of, like forcing myself, I have to accept this game for being so different, because I was one of the people that said, this is shit, this is not Zelda. And after 5 to 10 hours of like really giving it an honest chance, it was just like I poured 100 hours into the game just exploring without even beating the game, and I loved it. Right, I kept playing, I got 200 hours, then I finally beat the game, and then a few months later, I started a new file. I got 100 hours in that because if you play it in a different order, it's like a whole new experience. So I think I have 300 or 400 hours in it casually, and I cannot say that about any other game ever. Where I've been able to just replay it, feel the exact same like first time experience, and how I'm able to dump so many hours in without feeling any sort of like, oh man, I know where stuff is, this and that.
Wow, dude, that's actually really really crazy to hear that. That's actually this is actually a wonderful answer to hear because you're right. There are and there still are some Zelda purists who say that Breath of the Wild is not a Zelda game. Like that, that the whole linear dungeon order has been how it's been. That's how they're traditionalists. I don't want to say elitists. They're traditionalists on that, and it's like, okay, well, if you feel that way, you're missing out on a great experience here with Breath of the Wild. And man, that's actually what's funny though is that when I was playing through it, I was like, man, this game is really fun. I put in like 200 hours on my first
Mm-hmm.
on my playthrough, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, maybe I want to speedrun all shrines like that. That sounds really really fun. Ultimately, I didn't get into it because I realized it was going to be like it's a daunting task. Like it would took me like weeks because I'm new to Zelda just to like even like get that behemoth under control. And then when I saw with like, because I got to about like maybe like 90 of the 120 shrines, right? And the final 30 are just like so obnoxious. I had to start Googling to figure out like what to even where they were. So I'm like, because I was like really motivated. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this full try hard style. I'm not gonna get any help here. I want to find these shrines. And then I was like, okay, like let me just find. Okay, so then I just cheated. I'm like, okay, approximately where are they at? And I would do that, and I'm like, where's it at? What do I do? I can't find it. And I had to casual gamer, I had to start Googling how to find these things. I'm like, really, dude? Really? Yeah, you gotta push the snowball how far down the freaking mountain to make this thing unlock? Oh my god, dude. It was just things I would have
Makes me
never
feel
thought.
better. I had like 102 and I gave up, and like 200 core exceed.
Yeah, that sounds that sounds roughly what I had. A little bit better than what I had actually. But I was like, I don't know, man. I love Breath of the Wild casually. I just don't know if I would love it speedrunning it wise. And it's I have to and for me to even force myself to answer that question over why probably reveals more about what I like or what I don't like about speedrunning currently. But that's actually really interesting here. So your favorite game is Breath of the Wild. After you tried out the open world concept and you saw the whole game design work its magic where no matter where you turn there's a focal point. That's the
Yeah.
big thing I think is really admirable about that game is that like there's no dead zone. They deliberately made it to where no matter where you are, you look in your viewpoint, your view span, and there's at least one focal point for you to go look at or check out or see, which
Yeah,
is
and I
super
mean,
dope.
if I says this, like, when was the last time you could think about when you played a casual game for 200 hours? Like,
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's that game. That game is crazy. Okay,
exactly.
okay.
It's just a great game. So yeah, that's my answer. Definitely Breath of the Wild.
All right. So now I have okay. So now we're on the final phase here. Only 3 questions, and then we can and then we're done. Question one is it's a pretty big one here, but if you would love to go into anything concerning your GDQ performance because you did GDQ runs, so I'd love to
Yeah.
hear what like now that you've done a GDQ run, how would you compare doing a run at GDQ to like doing a run on your stream? Do you find that you're in the same mode or it's two different things for you?
So I've done 3 runs of all the Wind Waker. One was 2017, one was summer 2018. That's when I met you, and then the last one was the most recent event. Um, I would say the first time around, I don't know how it was with the atmosphere, but back then, like I wasn't a big streamer, so going up on the stage there, you have a crowd, never been in front of people before, and there's like 200, 100,000 people watching you. I would say for the first about 30 to 40 minutes, I was absolutely nervous, terrified. However, after that part, and keep in mind, this run was like 4 hours estimate, because this is like pre-bear skip.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say like you almost forget where you are, and you kind of just start talking like if you're on stream. I started commentating, and I started to be able to joke around like people was my stream, because you almost forget that there's a crowd behind you, or like the amount of viewers, because you're watching the game, you don't see anything else, and there's just two people you can hear behind you on the couch. Feels like I'm on a Discord call playing the game, right? Just on my stream. And like after that point, I realized like I shouldn't be nervous. Like I should have the time of my life. This is maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity. I should enjoy it as much as possible. Why not? And that's what I did. And like that's the same thing where I always hear people say like GDQ was so much better before. People like we used to joke, and now it's just like all this corporate. You can't joke around. It's too strict. And I'm like, I don't think so at all. Like, I mean, I slipped up. I cursed a few times, right? I joked around. I think the biggest difference is literally that back in 2013, 2014, it was a group of people. If you felt more comfortable because it was a small event, there was less numbers. I think it's more down to the runners being nervous and feeling like they shouldn't act unprofessionally and joke around. I think there's more to it because the GDQ doesn't have a problem if you're joking around, like within TOS, of course, or if you slip up and say fuck one time, like it's not a problem. So I think that like after a bit of sitting there, I realized that it's just fun.
No, I completely agree with you, honestly. Um, yeah, yeah. So you know what's funny about that? I'm trying to think back here now. I'm a GDQ veteran. I did GDQ, year one, 2010, when those classic games done quick, upward to doing something regularly there until about 2016 was when I started to start focusing on doing or I was out of crossroads because I didn't know what else to do because the results of that burnout I felt in 2013 and finally caught up with me at that point. I couldn't push anymore. Mario Maker came out. I was enjoying that. I was finally enjoying a game other than Yoshi's Island to any degree, and I couldn't force enough to do anything else. So I just had nothing else to contribute to GDQ at that point, right? But what I recall here though is that maybe not my very first run, but like my second or third run, 2011 or 2012, I was so nervous until I finally got hit. Like I was on a perfect run until level 1-3 or whatever, right? Like I'm 6 minutes to the run, and I finally get hit, and then boom, all the tension goes away now. It's no longer a perfect run, I'm like,
Yeah.
and honestly, I was happy. I was like, oh, dude, okay, all right, okay, I got hit. Now I can just, I can just chill now. I don't know why that made me feel good, but when I was,
No.
I don't know. It's tough for me to even describe it back then. Now it wouldn't happen. Now I'm just me and you, we've done it so often now. It's business as usual. I can just go in there and just do what I got to do. No big deal. But in 2011, man, I was a little frigid, nervous stick, and I just did not have the confidence to do everything. And it was freaking me out a little bit there. But
Definitely, and I think my perspective changed too because I after the first GDQ, I happened to have I think it was 3 minutes off for record at the time, which for being a 4 hour run, I was like, this is crazy. I'm gonna go in and perform as well next time. And that was when barrier skip and the morph ever was a thing. That was the summer you were there last summer, and I remember going with the same mentality, right? And then I was nervous for about the first 10-15 minutes, getting past the manual super sim, and then I felt super relieved. And then at the time as I was doing the run, I was getting frustrated because I was failing the zombie hover and end, right? But then after the run was over, what I realized was that it almost made a more entertaining run because it built up a hype and everyone was so involved in, is he going to get this trick? You know what I mean? And after that point, for the next GDQ, I was not upset that I went slightly over time estimate because I changed my opinion from GDQ of I'm not going here to perform a perfect run, and no one wants to watch a record run if you're sitting quiet. I'm going to put on a good show, because that's what GDQ is about. Put on a fun run, explain things, and even if it's slightly slower, you know what? If it's an entertaining run, that's the number one priority. And that's what I've been doing since, 100%.
So you're taking the words right out of my mouth here. I was going to say the exact same thing, that GDQ, it's a performance. It's not an execution thing. And that, honestly, if you think of it as if you were making a movie, if you nail every trick first try, there's no conflict. You get the run, you're max focused, there's zero reaction, and oftentimes it's lost on the crowd. They don't know when to clap. I've seen it myself. There are times where I've done a thing, I'm like, that's speed run super hard, and it goes completely over their head because I was so busy focusing on it. And then like I do like the vanilla thing that's like not even applause worthy, and they go ape shit in the audience, like yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, wait, that y'all clap for that? Really? That it caught me off guard. Now, I'm not even talking like obvious things like I beat the boss and the boss dies and therefore clap. Not even the boss pity kill clap. Like just things that I'm like, really? I cleared a pit that you don't have to even like try hard to miss. That gets a clap? Okay. Yeah, so just I caught on that. Okay, yeah, I need to I have to guide the viewers. I gotta make the commentary do much more than just explain the tricks. Much more than just do an info dump. I need to guide their expectations, and I need to explain the obstacle, the consequence if I fail that, and then what happens if I achieve that, all before I do it. That way they're framed for what's gonna happen in this big moment here, and then they can compute it for themselves. Like, don't tell them to be impressed. Frame the situation so that they can be engaged and determine their own level of impressedness once you're there. Which is a lot to do, honestly. But that's like, best case scenario to me. So, yeah.
I mean, like, the example of, like, the Ash Shitty Q run there, right? If I got, like, even if I explained how difficult the zombie ever is, if I got that first try, no one would know, how difficult that trick is.
Right.
But, like, after failing that for 4 times, right, everyone was just sitting there to their seat. And I think almost in a way, it's, like, you can't explain how difficult the trick is, almost sometimes. Like every single time I roll through a wall, right? People take that for granted because I do that literally dozens of times in a speedrun. Every one of those is a precise angle of analog stick and frame perfect. I've just done it so much that it's so consistent, you take it for granted unless you try the speedrun for yourself, right? But if you're failing something, then you almost learn to appreciate, wow, this is so hard.
Yep. Well, that was a great segment. So now I have for you here, it's a 2-part question. It's the last one, and then we can move on to closing words here. What were your goals at the start of your stream career? Like when you said I want to stream speedrunning. Not when you went full time, but when I want to stream speedrunning and I want to do this as like a regular thing of my free time and will. What were your goals back then? Can you tell me what year you started streaming like speedrunning routinely?
I started in 2013. I would say routinely, like very consistently 2015 until I took, like I said, that mental break earlier. But like when I started, I would honestly say my number one thing was I wanted to speedrun to, see how good I can get at the game, and also speedrunning as stream aspect. My current goal was just not about viewers or numbers. It was just having people to talk to in the chat. That was my only goal, really, was just if I can just consistently talk to people, then I'm happy. Honestly, that was my only thing.
Are you me? That's literally I've been speedrunning since 2004, and back then it was you had the SDA forum, and no one saw runs until 6 months later because they were recorded on VHS and then converted to digital MP4. So that took 6 months. So you get the run. People are holding their breath for 6 months, waiting to see what your run looks like, right? So it's there's just this huge disconnect between like getting any kind of instantaneous reaction to all the labor and love you put into the game. And worse yet, you can get the run, mail off to get converted from VHS tape, and then have tricks come out, which happened to Zelda all the time. So your run would already be obsolete before you even can have it transition to being on MP4. And point is, I had no audience. I was already content with speedrunning as it was, with no audience interaction. I'm sitting here, old school. If you want to know what it was like for me in the mid 2000s, I had 2 TVs. I had I would watch a movie or something while doing Yoshi on the VHS recorder, VCR thing, and that's what I did for a long period of time. I would just like sit there and play Yoshi because I had garbage internet. I couldn't play online multiplayer games or online anything really. So if you're poor and bad internet, guess what? Speedrunning is great for you. You get infinite replayability of the games you already have. And but then when I started streaming, like, dude, the rush I had when I had like 10 viewers, I'm like, people, because the whole thing was lost on me. I always thought, as a speedrunner from the old school days, that like people wanted to watch the result, not the progress. People want to watch me practice. That threw me off, honestly. I thought people would only I thought speedrunning would only live on YouTube and never. Who the fuck would want to watch me fail? You don't want to watch a director make the film. You want to watch the film and then hear about them after the fact. That was that was my mentality back then. So having an active audience that's like cheering you on and wanting to watch the journey as well as the result, dude, that I was through the roof, man. I honestly I couldn't get enough of it, and it made me so happy. It still makes me happy, incredibly happy. Obviously, I love y'all. So yeah, no, I completely understand. That's actually a great thing to hear from you, honestly. And on that note, can you tell me, compared to where your goals were at the start of your streaming journey, what are now that you're a full-time streamer, now that you are Mr. Wind Waker, you and Gymnast and others are way up there now with you are synonymous with the legacy of Wind Waker, hate it or love it, which is I think a great thing to strive for here. What are your goals now with speedrunning, with streaming?
So when I started full-time streaming, my number one goal, and I'm sure you felt kind of the same, was just I was like, okay, I want to hit around 500 to 1,000 subs, so I don't need to freak out every month about financial stuff, right?
Right.
When it got past that, it kind of allows you to then look at like more like I said, speedrunning aspects, and what we want to do with the stream, right? And with speedrunning specifically, I want to pick up. I would actually say I want to pick up more speedruns because my long-time goals would honestly be to kind of diverse myself, because I think that do I love Wind Waker? Yes. Do I want to keep playing Wind Waker? Yes. But do I only want to play that? Not really. I want to diverse myself. I want to, like you said, I want to grow myself as a brand and as a streamer more than just my speedrun. And I think that's the best thing I'm going to do moving forward, is just hopefully, try and, both play, Mr. Wind Waker, be that, play Wind Waker, as well as, trying out other stuff and other games, and, trying to grow the stream and the community and the brand, and not just Wind Waker.
Yeah. Now, when you answer that one, I have to throw you the bonus question. The bonus question here. That's the one I even told everyone I was going to ask this on stream. What do the birds mean? I see that you have. I see that you have your sub emotes are. You have. I'm guessing is it a bird or is it a blue duck? I can't tell actually.
It's a penguin.
It's a penguin. Oh.
Well, I mean, a penguin is a bird, so you're not completely correct.
So what's the story behind that? Why are all your subs penguins? Or I don't know if you call them penguins or not.
Yeah. So honestly, it was. I guess basically the thing was, I already did, I started to, I got partner, I got to commission, for emotes. I got Zelda related emotes only, and then I basically at that point knew that I want to try and do full-time streaming, but I don't just want to be stuck to playing Wind Waker or Zelda. And I knew that it would be bad to have every emote based around that. So I thought, what could a cute kind of, I guess, a character be for my brand / channel that could work for every single game, just not Wind Waker, right? If I play Mario, the new Yoshi game, I want to play that, right? Then, Smash Brothers, Joker, I'm sure you're going to play that too, whatever you name it, I'm not just going to play Zelda. I don't just want Zelda-related emotes. So literally what happened was I was playing Super Mario Odyssey. I saw a penguin at one of the ice stages, and I was like, oh my god, I remember this tiny baby penguin in Super Mario 64. It was super cute. What was his name? And I looked it up, and his name was Tuxie, and I literally based my emotes around that. So that's just literally how I choose. I was like, and I obviously I had to think too, can a penguin have enough expressions, if I keep getting emote slots, which, an animal, like a character, you have a lot of leeway with, the amount of, different emotes. So that's kind of what I choose from.
No, dude, no, that's sick. No, I love it. I love asking that question because I feel like people, when they come to your channel, they're looking at you, they're looking at your latest VOD or your viral clips, they're looking at your panels beneath your video player. And one thing I like to do is I like to look at the emotes. I like to see what can the emotes tell me about you, the person. And they're cute. They're so cute. I absolutely love it, dude. Super adorable. I cannot wait to get in there and show my Linkus pride and drop me some sub dosh and give me these emotes myself, man. Really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
So we did all that, and now man, it's been a journey, y'all. It's been over 2.5 hours. Linkus, pack it up, man. Give us the closing comments if you have anything here. What anything you want to bring it back to concerning Burnout or Wind Waker or 3D Zelda, or stuff like that. Is there anything you want to revisit to elaborate on here for anyone?
First off, if we could just get some love in the chat for Trihex for hosting this amazing show. Definitely just get some love in the chat for that. Definitely thank you for having me on, first of all, and for the great opportunity, and also like talking. I had a lot of fun, so just get some love in the chat for that. And then just some things for everyone that's watching. I will say, if you want to stream, do what's fun. If you feel the burnout, take what me and Trihex said, both this experience this as it's something that happens. You're not alone. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but just because they don't talk about it, it doesn't mean it's not a real problem and a real thing. Don't feel bad for like anything like that burning out. And also, like with speedrunning, it's a community thing. Don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions. I promise you, people don't get annoyed at that stuff, man. Yes, don't think you're annoying. Just go ahead, ask the community. There's often tutorials out there. People want to help. In general with speedrunning, we love the game, the passion. We want to grow the community. So don't be afraid about questions like that. So yeah, honestly, that's my closing statement.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything he's bringing up right here. I already kind of I did want to revisit the Skyward Sword thing, but I feel like we're already so over time that I felt kind of bad. People are gonna probably like freak out when they see this YouTube video. It's gonna be like 3 hours long, But you know what though? Honestly, we can revisit that. You don't have to be on Inside the Speedrunner for me and you just to kick it on stream. We could just like because my chat's begging me to they've been wanting me to continue playing through all the Zeldas. I've only played through Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild so far. Like I didn't play through a Zelda until 2017, and I was and my idea was to do a reverse virgin Zelda marathon because I'm a rare savvy gamer who has never played a Zelda until 2017, right? And I was like, well, I could play them in reverse order, and play them minus the nostalgia of playing them in order as they pay tribute to each other through references here and there. I can play them in reverse order and see what my conclusion is of my favorite Zelda via that, because why not? Why not do that, right?
Yeah.
So that was the idea, but I started with Twilight Princess because my girlfriend knew the game really, really well, and she was able to help me if I ever got stuck on anything. So I did Twilight Princess like the month before Breath of the Wild came out. Then I did Breath of the Wild, fell in love with it, love it. And then from then onward, my goal was to then play them in reverse order. So naturally, I got to Skyward Sword, and there was where I hit a giant brick wall because I was like, man, I've heard about this game, but yo, and you know what? Hit me. You know where it died? You know where it actually died? I like the story. I like what's his name? Groose, is that his name?
Yeah. Groose.
I love Groose. I even love Zelda. She's like a sassy she's a little firecracker. I like her too, actually. I like she's not just some generic like yes girl or whatever. It was whenever I take the bird and I'm like, oh god, dude, I'm so exhausted of all this like waggle shit to fucking win. I'm just gonna do cool. I gotta do some bird racing or whatever. Even the bird racing is I'm like, man, what was a fucking shake, dude? I was like, bruh. At that point, I realized it's not gonna get any better, and it's just gonna be waggle, waggle, waggle to do everything, and I don't know, man. Yeah. I wouldn't say I rage quit. It was more that I conveniently, I don't know. I think like God of War came out or something like that at that time, and I was like, all right, well, this new game's out right now, so I'm gonna play that because I'm definitely pushing myself to get through this game, and I'll come back to it when I'm done with God of War, whatever game it was that came out at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where that's where I fell apart on that one.
To keep something short, since they don't want to go too long, I think Gymnast, who was the first person to get sub 5 who speedrun that game, he put it perfectly with me when I was having a rage party about how much I hate that game. And he basically said, because I almost beat the game. I think I have 30 or 40 hours in that just shit game. And he basically said that the motion controls are... The problem with the motion controls, because the Wii is limited, is that Nintendo designed it around how they thought motion controls should work. However, if you don't interpret motion controls exactly how Nintendo thought it should be interpreted, then you're going to have a bad time. So you're not going to play like how you think is fluent motion controls, but you're going to have to learn what they think is motion controls. So I think that's the problem with the motion controls, and I think you hit it perfectly there. My opinion is it has good music, it has good story, but because it's built around filling in the story for the start of the series, they think I think they made story first, gameplay second, and you can tell
Mm.
that compared to like Breath of the Wild, where it's gameplay first. Okay, how do we make a story in this? I think that's the number one thing is you like story. If you like RPGs, for example, you like story. You know, like music, and that's the driving factor for you. I think you're gonna love Skyward Sword if you could pass the motion controls. But for me, gameplay is more important. So I can't stand it. It sucks.
Yeah, no, I may try force myself to get through it, but it's just like I'm not. The problem is I'm not excited to do that. I'm clearly doing it because of Zelda. Like if it wasn't a Zelda game, I would have dipped out a while ago. And that's just me being maybe a little too honest there for some of the Zelda fans. But hey, man, it's just only my opinion. You don't have to. My enjoyment or lack thereof of the game shouldn't neuter or negate yours, random internet person. But yeah, man,
Very true.
great closing comments. Sick fucking time, man. Everyone, please take a second. Go follow my boy Linkus, twitch.tv/Linkus7, right?
Yes.
Follow him. Do that. What are you currently doing right now? What can we expect from you throughout the rest of this week? Are you doing Wind Waker Hundo, or are you doing something different right now?
This week, specifically from TwitchCon, I have special plans tomorrow. I'm doing that run we were talking about earlier, a 100% plus all menus plus figurines run. So tomorrow, 10-hour speed run, everything. Something special I've decided yet shorter stream on Friday. And then on Sunday, I'm going to try a Super Mario 64 randomizer, getting all 120 stars. Because randomizers are really popping off. The features with the randomization is crazy, like positionings on stars, coins, enemies, you name it. So trying to get all 120 of them, it's going to be a long one, but I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Dude, no, yeah, y'all, like it's great. If y'all are into watching speedrunning and you find there's too much time commitment to the idea of like getting into speedrunning yourself, yo, a great in between here would be randomizer and bingo. Those are they don't even feel like work, man. Randomizer and bingo, when you find the game that you already have with, it's bliss. I can tell you right now, Mario Odyssey bingo is crack. That thing, honestly, it derailed me. That's what made me stop pursuing. Because I there was a point where I was top 10 on Darker Side, but then I just like I found bingo and I couldn't get enough of it. Honestly, I hit the bingo blunt and I was like, I can't get enough of it, man. I want more of it. So, dude, I do have fun with randomizer on 64. Have fun with your figurine plus 100%. Category sounds like a shit show, but I'm sure it'll be a great time for everyone in the stream. And yeah, thank you again, Linkus, man. Anything else before we wrap it up, literally?
Also, be sure to follow Trihex. Everybody came for the raid if you haven't. I feel like I need to return a favor. Don't forget.
Hey.
He's also. Do you have any ideas, like any hints of any possible like next?
Oh, the next guest, y'all. So a reminder again, inside the Speedrunner, for the sake of it being a high quality product, I keep it monthly. That way I can like plan in advance and get the right guests to keep playing up right now. So it's currently every mid-month, so it's generally the second or third Wednesday of every month, but I'll let you know in advance when it's going to be. The $1 million question is, when will the next guest be? I have an idea of who I want. Ooh, do I spoil that right now? I can tell you. I can tell you who I want. I can tell you what game I'm trying to get. If you want to know about
what about this? What category of game? Like, is it an RPG, platformer?
Here, I'll give you that. It's a Zelda. I'm trying to get another Zelda speedrunner. That's vague enough, right? I'm trying to. So I'm trying to piggyback off of now that I've seen Linkus work out well, obviously, and that was no brainer was going to work out well. And also that this format does work great with games I don't intimately know. That lets me open up a lot more here because I was scared that I'd have to like know the game a little bit better in order to like ask the right questions or whatever. But this was pretty. Honestly, I find me not knowing makes it even better because I can just ask you like the dumb shit that that probably would just not go over because it's probably really obvious.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great starting point to pivot my idiotic self in that way. Everyone is on the same footing. So
yeah,
I want to get I have other Zelda speedrunner in mind. I'm hoping that they agree, but I'm gonna reach out to them later this week and see what's good for May. So yeah,
awesome.
so keep spamming in chat. Y'all can man, y'all want Clint every month, man. Get out of here with that, y'all. So we'll see y'all. And it will keep on going. Yeah, it's exciting, man. I love it. I love it because it feeds itself here. This whole idea of like who's gonna be on next. Just I gotta give a platform to the people who want to hear more about themselves or people who want to hear more about their streamer and their friends. Super exciting. You know what's funny though?
Clinton Caleb is definitely turned into a meme now.
No, they can happen. It's just a matter of I have an idea though. I'm trying to build up here with this right here. So I'm hoping I can get another Zelda speedrunner, and then perhaps I eventually would like to get a JRPG runner. I want to get like one of those like I want to get like one of these like marathon runners, like people who like do like FF9 90%. Like I want to talk to them. Like that's actually the one I'm really excited for. But I'm still working on that though, obviously. But yeah, man, dude. No, thank you again. And dude, have dude, have a great fucking day life, man. I can't wait when I catch you live again. I'm coming with the fat raid host sub combo. You better believe.
I'm ready, dude.
Awesome.
I'll have to return a favor too, though.
And you're already a beast, man. Well, thank you again, bro. Everyone, tell Linkus goodbye, and I'll see you in the stream, fam.
Awesome. Thanks for having me once again.
All right, boy. Later. All right, cool.